disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. Lomito! You got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
All right. Welcome everybody to another Boxing Podcast. Broadcasting to you live from the true north. This is your good friend Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad. That's right, sure am glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we got a bit of a special show because we're going to be dealing with the aftermath of the hijinks that took place last night. Hijinks of the highest order. Let me tell you, it doesn't get any higher than what we had taking place last night. So we're going to cover all of that, all the madness, all the insanity, and the outrage that I'm seeing on Twitter. It's at an all-time high, let me tell you. And we're going to be here to add to the pile, of course. Why not? Before we do that, don't forget, you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, at your leisure. If you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so with the Super Chat feature, although it's better if you join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. Speaking of membership programs, shout out to Senpai Leo for rejoining the membership. And he says, Boogie versus Wings was fight of the week for me. Wasn't those two fatzos that I kept saying popping up everywhere on the Discord, on Twitter? Insane that those guys were fighting. And I think some people actually tuned in to see that. So shout out to Senpai Leo for his contribution, coming back to the fold here, or staying with the fold rather. But like I said, listen, it's always important that you also, if you don't contribute with the Super Chat or the membership program, that you continue to listen, hit the like, subscribe if you've yet to do so, and spread the BDA gospel, all right? Now more than ever, when the darkness is at its zenith, with all these shenanigans that we had taking place last night, it's always good to have the BDA gospel in hand. The good news, spread that, all right? Let's give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm talking about the Straight G Turo. I am your leader. Shout out to I am your leader in there. Frankie Sands, who says comfy edition of the BD box. Hey, that's absolutely 8. Once it's past 8, it is indeed a comfy edition, and so that's what we've got prepared here for you, fellas. Shout out to Super Sardonic, Ralph Unreal, Rafael Garza in there as well. Knockout Ned, King Bucho in the house as well. Shout out to King Bucho, Antonio Hernandez, Skull K25, Vince Vegas, All Motor Hash, Stagger Lee in the house, Draven in the house as well. Shout out to Draven, the Draven, as I like to call him. Who else? We got more people. Danny, Virtuoso, Raylist, Fluffy Toasters 89, El Dragon, and many more people to come, I'm sure. Fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, listen. Before we get started with the whole madness here, I'm going to start inviting people. I just want to get 1 or 2 points across so that there's no misrepresentation or equivocation about what it is that we do on this show. What we had take place on the PBC last night, there's plenty of blame to go around. And we're going to be pointing a couple of fingers at some individuals out there. But it's always important to remember that I'm talking for myself here. I can't talk for Bucho or Jimmy or Recognizer or Gonzalo or Chief. And I've said it before. I don't like to shit and complain. But as a boxing fan and as a boxing consumer, am I not allowed to point out where things are going wrong and the fact that I am dismayed over having to pay good money over crap fights? In fact, I'm actually not paying for Showtime anymore, and I'll tell you why. It's not because I had a choice, by the way. It's because they don't offer that the TSN, which is the sports network here in Canada, has stopped offering Showtime fights. They refuse to re-up for whatever reason. I haven't seen any announcements as to why or any explanation as to why they no longer show the Showtime fights. I can only assume that it's because there's one card per month right now on Showtime in their schedule, and they're really just discussing cards. So I think maybe TSN said, why would we pay for that shit? All I see on the schedule for TSN are the ESPN cards. Okay? So as a boxing consumer, what we got last night was a culmination of a downward spiral for the PBC that some fans have refused to see or to admit that there's a problem. Now, I have a feeling also, obviously, that if the owner of the PBC, Al Heyman, was not a brother, we would see all the community, the boxing community, shitting on it. But as it is, the usual suspects, they don't want to admit now. It's an ego thing. But look, here's the thing, though. Let's build bridges here and mend fences. If you're a boxing fan, this thing with the PBC has been hurting the sport. Like I said, you're paying for trash, fellas. If indeed you are paying for it. Because I know there's some people out there that are not paying for it, and therefore that's one of the reasons why they don't complain about what's going on. But if you're a boxing fan, you should also be ashamed of the fact that this is the quality of cards they're putting together, and also the fact that there's about 150 or more fighters on the PBC stable that are not being active. They're inactive. In fact, Rolly Romero, I'm looking at my notes here, the last time he fought was on the 28th of May. That's almost a year. Just fucking round it off. It was a year that the last time he fought, when he fought Gervonta Davis. And this guy was fighting for a title. Now, of course, Puello is the one that tested positive. But the fact that they decided to go ahead with this fight with old-ass Ismael Barroso as a title fight, what did Romero do to deserve a title fight? See, this is the other reason why I refuse to accept or to talk about titles. These alphabet straps, these baubles of men's vanity. I refuse to talk about them because they're trash. They've been trash since 2002. I think it was 2002 when the WBA decided to come out with a super title, that designation. That's when I was done with all of them. That was the last straw. Or the straw that broke the camel's back, rather. But still, people, newbies especially, they just keep on, they stick it into your mouth, they come in there, and people swallow it, and they go, can I have some more? It is disgusting. I'm here to... So I just want to make it clear here. These complaints that we're going to be making here are well-deserved, okay? And if you're one of those guys that love the PBC and you get your head buried in the sand, I suggest you go somewhere else, or call in if you want to. Call in and let us know how we're wrong. That the PBC is alive and thriving with their 1 shows per month, and this is the quality of shows that we're getting. The next event that we're getting, I think, is the Julian Williams, who hasn't had a world-class win in about 3 years against, what's his name? The Dominican guy, Adames. And then the undercard is not all that great either. So there's plenty of blame to go around for what happened last night. Inactivity. Rolly Romero, listen, already the guy's crap. He should have lost before the Tank Davis fight when he fought Jackson Marinas, but again, another PBC robbery. And then they gave him a shot at Tank Davis's another fake belt that he has. So that's what they're doing over there. And already, like I said, already Romero is a bad fighter or flawed fighter, highly flawed. And then you sideline him for a year. What did you? So that's one of the reasons why I think he looked extra bad last night. But let's not kid ourselves. If you, even despite a layoff, if you're still struggling with Grandpa Barroso's, you're not. Chances are you're not world class. Okay. All right. Listen, that's all I want to say, and I'm going to keep repeating this. But now I also want to hear from our usual panelists, because they're one of the reasons why we're doing a show. Because more people than normal, man. It's an abnormal rate of complaining that I'm seeing on Twitter, and it's well deserved. Let's just put it that way. So let me call a couple of people here, see if they show up. And like I said, we're going to be opening up the phone lines. I think I forgot to mention that. We're going to be opening up the phone lines, so if anybody wants to call in about, I want to say 45 minutes, depending on how the convo goes. We will open up the phone lines, and you can call in and give us your thoughts on last night's fights, the debacle, as I'm going to call it from here on in, because it really was bizarre. And then on top of that, here's the other thing that nobody really gave me a clear answer. The Gary Antoine Russell was supposed to fight. That's the 140-pound one. And I was sort of looking forward to that, because even though he was going to fight a guy that he was going to outmatch, I was like, okay, at least we get to see a knockout or something. He didn't fight. Somebody told me that he got a gift stoppage last night, and I actually believed it because of with everything that went down last night, and on the fact that he's already gotten 2 gift stoppages in the past. I bought it, but then turns out the guy was kidding. But even then, I checked out BoxRec. It doesn't say that he fought. Check it out. It says last fight, Francis Barthélemy, last July. So whenever Gary Antoine Russell fights next, let's say he fights next week on the Showtime card. Let's say they squeeze him in there at the last minute, because that's the only date Showtime has next month. That's going to be close to another year layoff here. So you see where I'm going with this? The PBC is keeping these guys inactive. That's why we're saying shit performances. And then you guys and all of us are paying $15 on top of our cable bill to watch guys that have been out for a year. That is absolutely disgusting. I got King Bucho here on the line. Bucho, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Bucho, like I said in the beginning of the show, there's plenty of blame to go around. Would you agree or disagree with that?
There's a lot of things to talk about. Well, what we witnessed yesterday was pathetic. It was disgusting. It's time for us to do something about this. And I'm not saying burn the streets or burn the stores or anything like that. No, but seriously, like, how old is Tony Weeks? I'm trying to find out here, but my internet's fucking up. This guy needs to retire. So he was born... hold on. No, they don't even tell you his age.
I'm going to look it up. But yeah, go ahead, man.
No, but he needs to retire. I mean, that was terrible. That was... he knew what he was doing. Whether it's somebody told him to stop the fight early or he already knows how it works. Maybe he did what he thought was the right thing to do in order to get another gig, basically. And it was disgusting. Rolly Romero, he's not a world-class level. I don't understand how he's a champion. See, this is why we don't give a shit about belts. There's people debating. They always want to debate us on, whether who was it? Teofimo Lopez was an undisputed champion or not, because he didn't beat Devin Haney. It's like, who gives a shit? We all knew that at that time, Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez were the best lightweights. So whoever won that fight was going to be the best lightweight. We didn't give a shit about the WBC and whatever Suleiman said. Why? And people are like, well, no, they're the sanctioning bodies. They decide. No, we don't give a shit about what they think, because look at what's happening now. Rolly Romero is a champion. Does that even make sense? It doesn't make sense.
It's nonsensical. It's clown world.
Fuck the titles, fuck the belts, fuck these alphabet belts. They're all corrupt. We know they manipulate the rankings. So let's stop this bullshit. We, the fans, have to decide who the champions are.
Now, see that.
At least let's follow the Ring magazine. At least let's follow the Ring magazine.
Yeah, look, I know that's complicated too. The whole thing of, we decide who the champ is, because, like Ring TV, they have their own rankings. They're imperfect. And then you got ESPN. The ESPN rankings are imperfect as well. But if you combine both of them, I think you can arrive to a consensus. And it's a whole lot better than the sanctioning bodies. Like I said, the sanctioning bodies, I forget which one, they actually moved up a dead guy up the rankings once. I mean, that...
Right. And by the way, Mr. BDA, I think it's pretty easy to come to a consensus.
Yeah, you're right.
To form a consensus. It's not that difficult. It's very rare that you'll see someone debate, oh no, someone say this is a champion and other people say, no, this other guy is a champion. It's very rare when you have those situations. Mm-hmm. And when you have those situations, they just have to fight each other. But that's pretty much it, man.
Yeah, the only one that I can, like, for example, the 122, the 122-pound division, you had MJ and you had Fulton. And they were the number 1 and number 2. They weren't fighting each other. Guess what? MJ lost his last fight. So now we can all safely say, like, is there any real dispute about who the best 122-pounder is? Like, if you know, in other words, like Butcher said, if you know boxing and you congregate with other boxing fans, you can arrive at a conclusion. It's
right. There have been difficult situations, like in the heavyweight division, because of Tyson Fury's, how long was he inactive for? a year, 2 years, whatever, when he was doing his coke and shit. So that kind of threw everything off because some people still believe that he was a champion. And other people said, no, he's not. He stopped being a champion because of inactivity. So that creates some problems. But other than that, it's very difficult to find a situation where, like, again, where people disagree.
You know, there's been situations before, like when Kovalev was fighting.
Roy Jones.
At his, when Kovalev was at his peak and Adonis Stevenson was technically the lineal champ because he beat Chad Dawson. But then some people said, well, Kovalev actually has a better resume. The only thing is that Adonis Stevenson fought Chad Dawson, who was coming off a loss against Ward. So some people didn't really give that win too much credit. So yeah, it can get complicated. But for the most part, I think you hit it the nail on the head. 90% of the time, boxing fans can figure out who the number one guy is. This ain't rocket science. But I also want to say something else here, because again, we didn't even mention exactly what occurred last night, was that Raul Romero took on late replacement Ismael Barroso. Old man Ismael Barroso. People were making fun of the fact that this fella, Barroso, is supposed to be 40 years old, but he looked way older. He looked to be at least 65, okay? Then on top of that, he comes along, he drops Rolly Romero to the point where Romero right now is saying that he's never been hit harder. And that's after fighting and getting stopped by Tank Davis. So that should let you know what type of quality Romero is if he's struggling with an old man like this. In fact, he actually looked better against Tank Davis before he was stopped. Anyway, the fight continues. It was very uneventful. Barroso was essentially just whacking him with left hands upstairs. Every once in a while, he would catch him with the left hand upstairs. And Romero was trying to do the shoulder roll against a southpaw, which doesn't work. And, you know, Bucho, I got the feeling watching Romero fight that not only was he hampered by the layoff, which, again, I haven't seen too many people bring up the fact that he was out of commission for close to a year, but also the fact that I think he was trying to show people, hey, I can box too, man. Because he went full retard against Tank Davis, and that's why he got caught. I think this time he was trying to show the people, no, I can box too. Nah, you can't. You're a Ricardo Mayorga type fighter with straighter shots. That's all you are. Anyway, that's how the fight went. And then it happened, I believe, in the 8th round. Yes, in the 8th round. Or the 7th. In the 7th, I think he dropped Barroso. And then he went for the kill, but Barroso wasn't going anywhere. He actually landed a couple of counters before Tony Weeks inexplicably jumped in, stopped the fight. Much to the detriment of the crowd. At first, the crowd, upon the stoppage, they were chanting Romero's name, because I think they were mostly there to watch him. And then once they saw the replay, they started booing. And Tony Weeks refused to do a post-fight interview. So did the commissioner. Butcher, what does that say, do you think, about the nature of the stoppage?
Is that protocol or something? Like, are you allowed to interview judges as referees? Or judges?
Yeah.
Or?
If they agree, right? It's not they're not obligated to give interviews.
I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. They're not obligated. So the fact that they refused, why wouldn't you? Why do you think, like, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm putting myself in their places, why wouldn't they want to give an interview?
Exactly. It's suspicious.
And so,
listen, it doesn't really matter. Even if you ask them a question, they won't answer it straight.
Exactly, yeah.
So who gives? We know what's happening. We don't need to ask these people questions so they can bullshit us and insult our intelligence. We know what's happening.
You're right. It's just I think it does speak volumes to the fact that they couldn't even pull out any bullshit, because they were gonna show it in a replay. What was he gonna say? Well, you see him stumbling? Nah. Shout out to One Foot Out the Door, by the way, for his contribution. For re-upping the membership program. He says PBC protected boxing champions. I mean, hey. Shout out to Uriah Smith for his contribution. Super chat. He says miss the old days when the mafia controlled boxing. See, you know what? Like I said in the beginning, Bucho, obviously boxing is a bad sport all around. Like every other month, you're going to get some sort of hijinks or a stoppage that people disagree with, blah, blah, blah. But the PBC right now, the fact that this is their only card of the month, they were subpar fights. And then on top of that, they don't even give the right guys the benefit of the doubt. Like Akhmedov got robbed in the undercard fight. Gary Antoine Jr. just disappeared. It's like he fell off the face of the earth. I haven't been able to find out what happened to the guy. He just didn't show up to fight. and then on top of that, you get the main event. Like, is it fair? You know, because some people could say, you be hating. Why are you hating? Like, are we hating, or do we have good? Are we presenting good arguments as to why this organization is a heap of trash?
I think we're presenting good arguments, because even if you go and watch what these other channels, the LDBC channels, are saying, they are actually agreeing with us in a way. They can't really make up any excuses. So even they can't hide they cannot sugarcoat this.
Exactly.
It's not the first time.
Oh, and
it's not the first
apparently,
time. That's the thing.
apparently Omar Juarez got robbed against Barthélemy. Now, I can't comment too much on that one because I didn't see it. But a lot of people are saying it was. I'm gonna go ahead and assume for the moment that indeed was another bad decision. But yeah, man, listen, I have to really try to drive this point home. This card was trash, and sometimes trash cards can actually be entertaining, but this was just bad all around. Like I said, Butcher, it's almost like the culmination of everything going wrong with the PBC. It just seemed like everything went wrong last night. Would that be a fair assessment?
I think it did. It just shows you that the PBC is in complete decline. Imagine, like, this is you're waiting for a Showtime PBC card, and this is what you get in a shitty stoppage. And it's just, I don't know how long they can stay in business, in my opinion.
But you know what made it worse, Bucho? And not many people are talking about this. Barroso's, this was his last chance to win. From what I understand, I don't know if this is true. Hopefully somebody can confirm this in the chat. I think his wife had recently passed away. So this was his last chance, even at a paper belt, whatever. But for a guy like Barroso's, that paper belt can get him an increase in salary, at least for once before he retires, maybe some sort of like a form of severance package. The fact that they robbed him was disgusting. Then on top of that, they robbed him in front of his daughter. I don't know if you saw it. His daughter was in the crowd. I don't know if you can see the lady in blue. Let's zoom in here. There you go. His daughter was in the audience, Bucho. And they robbed him like that. I mean, that's disgusting. Are you seeing the picture, by the way?
Yeah, the daughter.
Yeah, look at that the daughter there. That's when I think that's when things were going correctly. That's when he was doing well. She looks happy. That's how. And then boom, they rob him. I think that's disgusting, and not too many people are talking about this. That is outrageous. But hey, listen, Bucho. Here's the other thing, though. Somebody that kind of looks like Barroso's daughter. What's his name? Steven Espinoza was in the Twitter defending what happened. Like they're all pointing the finger at each other, and he had this to say. He said, "You don't blame ESPN or Fox for bad calls. You don't blame Turner or ESPN for bad NBA calls. You know, the network can't influence the judges. The fact that you suggest otherwise when you're informed enough to know the reality tells me you're clout chasing. Stop it." All right, first of all, why is he talking like an urban 22-year-old? Clout chasing. You know, you want that smoke? I got the smoke. Second of all, now all of a sudden he's saying, hey, we had nothing to do with this. But like somebody said in one of the tweet comments here, he said, does ESPN or Fox or Turner execs, are those executives always buddy-buddy with the owners, coaches, or players? And I said, you know what? That's a good point.
I mean, exactly. I was going to say, the fact that he's comparing Showtime, sleazy fucking boxing programming with, regulated sports, it's just pathetic. I mean, no, boxing is not even on that level. Boxing is, it's laissez-faire, man. Economics, it's chaos. It's a Wild West, basically. It's like you're comparing Jerry Springer with Oprah, basically.
Yeah. Or Meet the Press with Jerry Springer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, listen, I kind of sympathize with Espinoza because even though he's a lawyer by trade and therefore more Weasley than the average person, he still has a tough job because he's got to fucking put sugar on top of this trash heap or this pile of manure, and it can't be easy. And but somebody else pointed out something out interesting in the comments to this tweet, or somebody replied something rather in the tweet. Hold on, let me find it here. Let me put it up in the screen first. Okay, somebody said, shut up, Weasel. Stop trying to cover it all up. We saw what we saw, a fixed fight. Oh yeah, this guy said, instead of always being busy with damage control, get better at your job. And I read and I'm thinking, I think this is about as good as it gets for him. He has no choice. He has no money to put better cards. He doesn't call the shots. It's really Al Heyman still has him hypnotized with the black magic. What is he supposed to do, Bucho?
Yeah, you're right. All he can do is damage control.
Well,
I don't know, man. To be honest, it's I don't even know what to say about this. It just happens so often, and this guy's complaining like he's the victim. He wants to play the victim. Like, well, don't come complaining to me. Go, well, okay, where do we go? Who do we talk to?
I mean, listen, again, this is the most important thing. We're boxing fans, and most importantly, we're boxing consumers. If you're paying for listen, the fact, again, I would like to see as much boxing as possible. If there's Showtime, ESPN, DAZN, I'm happy. But the fact that my TSN app doesn't even offer the Showtime cards anymore because they're so awful.
Oh, yeah.
On the one hand, okay, I'm not losing anything, right? But I'm telling you, for the sakes of this show, I still watch the crap cards because I have to put on a show for you guys. And, because let's face the facts. Fuck you, fellas. I'm a boxing junkie. I'll watch even the most crap of cards and I'll pay for them. I don't even have the option anymore to pay for it. So that's one less boxing source for me to get my fights from. And this wouldn't be happening if Showtime actually had their act together. So when Spinoza says, well, this ain't my fault, yes, it is your fault because it's all interconnected. The fact that...
So whose fault is it? That's what I'm asking. So where, like I said, like I asked before, where do we go and complain? Where?
I mean, I guess
at least give us a fucking name. At least he can say, well, don't go talk to this person or do this, do that. No. He's basically telling us to shut up, basically.
Exactly. It's like the same thing. Like, you be hating. In other words, I don't like what you're saying, so please stop talking. Yeah. And here, Frankie Sainz, shout out to Frankie for his re-upping the membership program. He says, if you look black or act black, you're going to win in the PBC. Fixed fast. I don't think I'm going to be tuning into this nonsense. A total sham. I mean, look... Somebody else mentioned it in the Twitter. What a coincidence that whenever you get these awful decisions, it's never against the A side. It's always the A side that's getting the benefit of the doubt with these bad decisions. It's the B side that gets screwed over. What a coincidence. When's the last time we saw the A side get robbed? I think the last time I remember was what? Pacquiao Bradley, maybe? So this just says it all, man. And again,
but Rolly had to win this fight. That was the whole point. You weren't gonna let that guy, the bad guy from Last of the Mohicans, win the fight.
Yeah, what's his name again?
I don't remember what you were talking about.
The actor, yeah, he was in Heat too. But Bucho, you're absolutely right because I don't know if you saw, but Rolly Romero right afterwards said, "I want what's his name, Tank Davis or Garcia." Now, obviously, I don't think they can sell a rematch between Davis and Romero based on the shit show we just saw last night. So it's probably makes more sense to make Romero versus Garcia because they want another decent pay-per-view. Again, people keep saying, oh, Tank Davis versus Garcia, 1.4 mil. It didn't do 1.4 mil. Okay? Unless Showtime says it themselves, you don't know what the real numbers are. And so if they put Romero in there with somebody else, it has to be Ryan Garcia. Tank Davis, they're gonna try their chances. I think they're gonna try their chances, and they're gonna put him in there with Cruz, and they're gonna see what they're gonna let the chips fall where they may. As for again, I think they want to get Ryan Garcia back. But why would Ryan Garcia go back to the PBC where they can saddle them with a bunch of
it's not happening. No.
Hopefully he learned his lesson. By the way, hopefully. Ryan Garcia learned his lesson when Tank Davis said, he's got too many advantages. I want to make the fight fair. That's why we're doing a rehydration clause. I think Ryan Garcia at this point should face the facts. He's not going to get a fair fight at the PBC. So stay away from them. What else? What's next for Rolly Romero? Like you said, if they even wanted, like Bucho, this was all dependent on Romero looking good in this fight. And they couldn't he couldn't even do that. So good luck selling a rematch against Davis. And good luck trying to get Garcia back to the PBC. Hey, maybe Garcia's an idiot. Maybe he does go back to the PBC. Maybe the PBC is going to get lucky. But like you said, I doubt it.
No, I don't think so. No, that's fine. Well, so who do they have over there in the weight division? They have Isaac Cruz.
They got Gary Antoine Russell, they got Garcia Russell, which, like I said, he disappeared. I don't know where he is. He didn't fight last night, and I've yet to find. Somebody, please, in the chat, give me an explanation if you've heard, at least a rumor, because I've been unable to find anything. They've got Subriel Matias. I don't think they're gonna put Davis in there with Matias or even Romero. So, like you said, what else? What are we looking at here? You know, it's
Nothing.
It's a
Bullshit.
weird one, man. It's a weird
We're
one.
looking at bullshit.
And then on top of that, Bucho, like I said, the inactivity, because Gary Antoine Russell was supposed to fight. Yeah, so Iceman says he's suspended. I saw that on the box rec, but I think that's just a New York. Well, actually, yeah, if you're suspended in one state, I think it applies to every other state. I don't think they will let you fight. I think he'd have to fight outside the country. Now, I'd like to understand why he's been, according to the box rec, he's been indefinitely suspended. I got to find out what happened there. But Bucho, Gary Antoine Russell, last time he fought was in July 2022. So let's do the math. The PBC only has 2 more dates coming up. One in June and one in... No, excuse me, I think they got 3. One in June, one in July, one in August. I think, I gotta check. I think they only have 2. Anyway, that means that the next time he fights is gonna be close to another year off. How is this benefiting the PBC fighters? And do you think, how many PBC fighters right now do you think are beating themselves over the head thinking, why did I sign with the PBC?
I don't know, because they're retarded, so maybe they're not even realizing what's happening.
Wait a minute.
But seriously, I'm not sure. Who do we have? Let's look at the PBC roster here. I mean, Spence and Crawford. What the hell's going on with that?
By the way, that's a good point. Did you see that Errol Spence supposedly tweeted, "I feel like I'm getting shafted here," or something to that effect?
Man, they're like prisoners.
They're like, hey, listen.
I mean, you know what? You're gonna see them. You're gonna see them in the stands there, and you know, they're watching other fights, right? So the camera like starts zooming in on them, and they're like giving you signals for help. You know, like hand signals, or blinking, or SOS.
Bucho,
Morse
this is what he had
code.
to say. This is what he had to say yesterday. He tweeted out, "I'm starting to feel played." You know, played rhymes with...
Speak. I'm being played. Man, what was that? Okay, so he's being...
Well, Bucho, played rhymes with enslaved.
I
don't know. I mean, I don't know what to make of this. Fellas, you let us know. Guys, you let us know in the chat, because I'm at a loss for thoughts here. I'm really trying to put things together, piece the puzzle together. And I'm feeling played here. I feel like I'm unable to do so because there's just so much...
That's what somebody should have told fucking Spinoza. Are we being played, man? You're playing us.
I mean,
maybe he would have understood, man.
I was rewatching Amistad the other day, especially the part when they start to revolt. I think that's what they got to do at the PBC, man. Because right now there's mutiny. That's the only thing they can do. By the way, Bucho, I was partially correct. They've got 1 card in June. The Showtime does. Then they've got at the end of July, they got excuse me. No, you got to go all the way to the beginning of August for the next card. Now, check this out. In the June card, Erickson Lubin is going to be taking on Luis Arias. Okay? Arias, I think he had his big win against Jared Hurd, and then he lost his subsequent fight. Meanwhile, Fundora hasn't fought in over a year either. You starting to see the pattern that I'm talking about here? All these guys, they get 1 fight a year. And then what type of quality do you think we're going to get? You think we're going to get the best Erickson Lubin?
No. Then he's going to struggle. He's going to look like shit. The referee's going to have to step in and help him out. Same fucking story.
There you go, man. Hey, shout out to Joker, by the way, for his contribution to the super chat. He says, fans need to boycott the PBC. Listen, I was doing that until I sort of, again, like a junkie, I lost my coolness, started rewatching their fights. But now I don't even have a choice because TSN decided to discontinue their deal with Showtime because they feel, I'm assuming here that they feel it's unworth it to keep paying for 1 card per month. And then on top of that, this is the cards that we have. Also, in August, we got the other big Showtime card, which is 40-year-old Erislandy Lara taking on Danny Garcia for middleweight, another shit belt. Wow, Bucho, hey, isn't that worth your $15 on top of your cable bill to watch this if you're a boxing fan? That's their only card of August. And
That's
then,
pathetic.
And Bucho, would you be surprised if there's another PBC stoppage in that one?
No, of course not. I think that's what I said when I got cut off. I said, like, this is what's going to happen again. I mean, you're going to have one of these boxers that due to inactivity is going to be struggling in the ring. And so then the referee's going to have to go in and help him. Controversial stoppage. Same story.
Yeah, I heard what you said about that. Yeah, you said Lubin's going to look like crap.
Okay.
He's going to struggle.
I got dropped or something.
No, I heard that one. But now, I was just asking if Lara, because again, 40-year-old guy, Danny Garcia hasn't fought since he beat Benavidez, which was, I want to say August maybe? Let me check. When did he fight one-legged Benavidez, who was Long John Silver, as I like to call him, peg leg? He fought Benavidez in July. Okay, so another guy that's going to be fighting after a 1-year layoff. I mean, come on, man. When are people going to... we put that in the title. When are people going to wake up? And Butcher, you made a great point. I'm not seeing any of the usual PBC defenders defending this. They can no longer defend the trash heap that PBC has become.
That's when you know it's almost over.
I mean, remember I read the article in the last Open Lines Friday. I think it was last Open Lines about the Paramount, how they're, and other YouTubers have talked about it, about how Paramount is cutting the costs. And right now, PBC right now, this is their audition. And people keep bringing up 1.4 mil pay-per-view buys Garcia Davis. That's not what it did, first of all. And number two, that's pay-per-view. I don't think Paramount cares all that much about what they did on pay-per-view. So,
and that was, I mean, it was Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis together. You won't have them together all the time.
Exactly. Very good point, Bucho. Very good point. And then on top of that, look, I get they got a job to do. But what's this all about? Look at this. This on Twitter. This is from the PBC's Twitter account. Despite being knocked down in round 3, Raul Romero overcomes adversity to defeat Ismael Barroso via controversial 9th-round TKO stoppage and improves to 15-1, which, by the way, should be 15-2. And people are fucking clowning them. What kind of stoppage was that? Clown stoppage. Somebody goes, overcomes adversity. The only adversity was Week's decision. Stop sugarcoating this robbery. Barroso got robbed big time. And by the way, Bucho, I saw that Steve Kim tweeted that he asked Todd DeBeuf, or I forget who he talked to, about the Lomachenko Haney fight that's taking place next week. He said, are you aware of who the ref is going to be for that fight? And they said, we got no idea. It's probably not going to be Tony Weeks.
Well, they know.
I mean, how much more can you... This is the same guy that let Andre Ward hit Kovalev in the balls and then decided to call that a fair stoppage.
He's supposed to be one of the best.
The best,
you believe
Jerry,
that?
the best. Yeah, man, come on. What does that mean nowadays in boxing? The best referee. No, man, I'm telling you, this PBC thing was a disgrace. But I mean, again, look, listen, at the end of the day, it's only boxing, and I'm not too surprised by what happened because we've been calling the decline of the PBC for years. It's just some people refuse to listen. And the other thing is this, though, there's plenty of blame to go around. It's not just relegated to one person. It's not just Tony Weeks' fault, although he's one of the main culprits. There's also, like I said, Showtime, the fact that they've been willing to go along with this charade. Not only has Showtime been taking it up the ass, they're spreading their ass cheeks as far wide as they can and saying, give me all you've got. All 8 inches of this ass fucking. And then on top of that, like I said, the inactivity from most of their fighters. Errol Spence is feeling played. Deontay Wilder has nothing on the table. What's going on here? If I'm a fighter and my payday depends on fighting and I'm not getting those fights. I mean, think about it. People go, well, these guys can keep training. Yeah, they're training. They're not making money. And training camps cost money too. So they're not getting into a full-out training camp because they don't know when they're fighting. I mean, it's just a mess all around is what I'm trying to get at here. Let me read a couple of comments here from the chat. Hold on a second. Okay. Let me read a couple of chat.
I think we should open the phone lines.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. But let me just read a couple of comments here. Eggbeat says, Stephen Espinoza is a global Labala Zionist. I think he's half, right? He's half from the tribe. Fair Shake says, Loma via unanimous decision. Only problem is we don't know Loma's conditioning. Well, we're going to be talking about that this week, by the way. We're going to be doing another of our patented film analysis and perhaps 2 other shows to cover this monumental fight. I'm Your Leader says, Ralph Unreal, he fought his last fight at 154. I think he's talking about Danny Garcia. Super Sardonic says, I just want someone to get KO'd next weekend. I don't need a boring decision. Hey, knock on wood, God forbid we get a bad stoppage. What else we got here? Ralph Unreal says, damn, I forgot about this fight. Grievous says, worst era and all pay-per-view. Yeah, that's the other thing, though. Let's not sugarcoat it. Lomachenko Haney shouldn't be on pay-per-view either. And we're going to get to that, by the way. We're going to get to that. Okay, hold on a second. I'm getting a call here from... First of all, I forgot to call Recognize. I forgot to call him. So he said he could be on here. And Jamie's having... There's some issues going on here. I think he's writing to me. All right, hold on a second. Yeah, but Bucho, what... Can the PBC be fixed is what I'm trying to get at here. Because I mean...
Well, I don't think so. Jimmy has been telling us for a long time that the PBC is going to die. Now, people want an exact date as to when it's going to die. That's impossible to predict. But like I said before, Jimmy is right on the point here, on the money, like they say. You can see the signs of the decline. It's on the decline. Compared to 2015, where they were, how many fighters they had, how many events they had every month, every week. Now, look what's happening now.
I mean,
look at it. Does that look like it's healthy, like a healthy company? Not at all.
Yeah, you brought up the good point the last time where you said, compared to what it was 4 years ago, is it in better shape? Worse shape? Equal? And, the answer says it all. But it's just, some people want you to give an exact date, and if you don't give an exact date, it's not dying. I mean, imagine a doctor, that's why doctors never tell you too, by the way. I don't know when you're going to die, because they don't know. They don't have a fucking crystal ball. It's not an expiration date. But it's safe to say that this...
PBC, the milk will go bad.
Great way of putting it, Bucho. The milk will go bad. And let me tell you again, what we saw last night was a disgrace.
And that was a disgraceful performance.
It really was. And you know what, Bucho? I think we got good grounds. I'm going to contact Rayful Shapiro. I'm not a litigious person, but based on what we saw last night...
I want a lawsuit!
That's what we might be getting, man.
I want a fucking lawsuit right now, motherfucker!
Let's all pull our resources together. Let's get Rayful Shapiro, the one and only. Let's get him on the board and start getting the litigation going. Okay, we finally got Jimmy on board. Jimmy, we were about to go to the phone calls, but real quick, just to set up the table here, there's plenty of blame to go around with what happened with the PBC last night. And we've been trying to tell people for a while now that this is an organization in decline. Just if you could name all the people that are to blame, or if you just want to give your preliminary thoughts on what happened last night.
Well, the people to blame, without a doubt, is you got to start at the top. You got to start with Al Heyman, Stephen Espinoza, and Gilbert Mendoza from the WBA. Without those three people, this couldn't even have happened. The fact that just they would take a kid who's coming off a knockout loss, okay, who's never accomplished anything to begin with other than being a loudmouth goof, who's just terrible. I mean, terrible. Fundamentally, in every capacity. And they're giving him a title shot, not for a junior title, but for a full title against some fucking 73-year-old Guatemalan. It's just insane. Okay, I mean, and props to the fucking old time. I don't know, fucking cutting out town fucking bananas in the fucking 1970s, toughened them up. But fucking this is again when you don't have to answer. It's the same people who sit there, fuck Bob, Arab's a liar. He just can't believe anything he says. Really? At least he says something. Al Hammond thinks so little of the people who support, and mind you, without these people listening to the show right now, buying the pay-per-views, this sport wouldn't exist. So that's why I get really frustrated and angry when I see the fighters getting on Twitter and badmouthing, oh, you've never been in the ring. What do you know? Shut your mouth. But that's a whole nother side thing. But without those three people in, Espinoza, for all that weasel word salad that fucking clown does. Somebody sent me a video today. I was just watching 10 minutes ago about, we don't want to look at just, Nelson ratings. There's retention. He just starts blabbling. It's like, dude. Okay, for instance, their biggest non-show this year, the two big shows, Fundora, when he got slept, and that Frank Martin against the Muhammad Ali wannabe kid. Do you know that it averaged 131,000? And I was sent the the kid set it up perfect, and he sent me all the fucking receipts. And the Fundora one did under 200,000. They used to slam Lomachenko for pulling 750,000 average at HBO. Remember when he was a hype job, nobody's watching, $750,000. Now they can't even get 200,000. I mean, listen, boxing's gone. Not only I used to say, well, when they fold it into the app, I'm kind of thinking maybe they'll still put on pay-per-views because the infrastructure will be there. I don't even think they're going to waste their fucking time. It is an absolute albatross. It's a dog around their neck. They're not putting on any numbers. And the fact that this, I tweeted out today, until last night, I felt all kinds of way. Boxing has brought, whether it's excitement, disappointment, anger, everything. But truly until last night, I was never embarrassed to call myself a boxing fan. Last night made me embarrassed to say I'm a boxing fan. It's at least WWE, it's fake. So it's it's embarrassing. This is such a joke. And then to know that Tony Weeks, if that wasn't like we've been saying all along, when the PBC, when it's the house fighter, that dude's supposed to win. So Tony Weeks knew they had his marching orders. Whatever happens, guys, listen, we want this dude to win. He knew he was being outboxed. He was being beat up. I mean, he's got the dude's got somebody sent to me during a fight. Hey, what do you think of he's got footwork like Bivol. What do you think? I said, yeah, if he had cerebral palsy. I mean, it's just, this fucking dude is awful. And he was losing that fight, and he had 2 rounds to go. And I think he saw I think fucking Tony Weeks, that corrupt bag of shit, looked up at the fucking clock and said, fuck. 15 seconds left in this round. He's going to survive this round because I can't count on this fucking small school bus rider to fucking land a shot. So he jumped in and just fucking waved it off and then ran from the fucking ring like he beat a bar tab, along with the commission out the door. At least I give Showtime, credit. Ronaldo Morales, he was actually skagging on that fight the whole night. And he said, the other dude, too, James Gray, said, yep, they refused to talk as usual. They ran from the ring, Tony Weeks. If Steven Espinoza had a stitch of credibility or integrity, he would have, big statement today, we're not going to stand for this. We want an investigation. We're not going to, the WBA should say, right now we're going to hold this belt in recess because of the obvious. Listen, that kid didn't even land a punch. You know what I mean? The only punches being landed were by the guy who's collecting Social Security. It was ridiculous, but that's my spiel. What's that, BDA?
No, just Bucho. Instead, we get Espinoza saying don't come complain to me. They'll go somewhere else. Basically, don't. What am I gonna do? Well, who do we complain to? Who do we talk to about this?
Jimmy, let me read you what Jim Gray. What's his name? Spinoza had to say on Twitter. He said, you don't blame ESPN or Fox for a bad NFL call. You don't blame Turner or ESPN for a bad NBA call. The network can't influence the judges. The fact that you suggest otherwise, he's talking to some Twitter guy, when you're informed enough to know the reality, tells me you're clout chasing. Stop it. Stop it. That's what he's saying. What do you think about that? He's pointing the finger at somebody else, essentially.
Of course he is. He's an idiot. In fact, at the end of that last speech, I just saw he was well. People are saying we're failing because they're just haters. They just want us to hate, or they hate me. He is a little weasel. And the fact is, listen, dude. But the other difference is with the NFL. That's a multi-billion-dollar fucking, popular sport that functions properly. But if Fox, is putting on something that they controlled every aspect, because Showtime is intrinsically involved with the fight with Al Heyman, with the sport itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, involved in all this. They could easily say, he could have said, yes, we're gonna check into it, but he's a fucking weasel. And I pray to God they blast that fucking dude. I hope fucking Paramount fires him so bad, because they're not done with the cuts. And I hope they blast him. I hope they fucking blast PBC. The quicker Al Heyman, because again, he brings up ESPN or other things. You think ESPN, you think Top Rank, who's on ESPN, would ever have a Rolly Romero? First off, they wouldn't sign that skid mark. Never mind fucking put him on front of the line to fucking have him fight for a title. That's the kind of ghetto shit you get on that ghetto fucking promotion and their ghetto fans. It's a ghetto outfit.
Sorry, but look, I said this at the beginning of the show because some people are going to say, oh, you guys are always hating on the PBC. But look, we're boxing consumers as well, man. If we're paying for boxing, especially when they've got, look, they're stalling the careers of 150 plus fighters. Gary Antoine Russell was supposed to fight last night, Jimmy. Apparently he didn't even fight, and I've yet to find any type of announcement as to why he didn't fight. On top of that, Rolly Romero was coming off a 1-year layoff, which might explain why he looked particularly awful. Because we all know he's awful, but last night, even with a 2-year layoff, you're not supposed to look like this against a 40-year-old, a guy who's probably 65, by the way, fighter. Then I think I mentioned this in a couple of other shows. The subsequent cards we're gonna get from the PBC, these guys, most of the guys in the main event or in the main card have been inactive for over a year. So, as boxing fans, shouldn't we have the right to complain when we're getting a diluted product?
Of course, it goes without saying. And yeah, no, man, it angered me. Like I've got to the point where it's like he not only has he stagnate careers, but what he's doing, what this all was to get them to hold another belt that they can hold hostage. Jamal Charlo has not fought in 2 years. You know what? And I've been saying it all along about his family, and a lot of people hate that shit. Like, who cares? Everybody has family issues. I just feel for the dude, and I do respect the fact that he's sued to get his kids. Any fucking man knows his children are better off if they're with a crazy woman. So I respect that he actually fought for his children to get full custody of his kids. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you've been inactive for 2 years, holding up that belt. He should be a fucking champion of recess then. Or Errol Spence. When's the last time Errol Spence has fought a mandatory? Years. This happens every time they capture a belt. Gary Antoine, one of the Antoines, the one who was the WBC champion for 6 years, never fought mandatories, ducked fighter after fighter. They just hold belts hostage because they don't want to do anything outside the PBC. And the faster that, like I said, ghetto promotion folds up and goes the fuck away, and the faster Al Heyman gets the fuck away from the sport, the better the sport will be. He has driven the sport in the ground. He started when in HBO, he fucked HBO up, that one under. And somebody posed a question the other day on Twitter: has Showtime held up the standards set by HBO? Not only haven't they failed to hold up those standards, they've shamed them. That it's a joke. And last night, I mean, when you have the announcers, I mean, to their credit, they were they were doing a little snicking and elbowing each other. I got what you meant. Like, Ronaldo was literally making fun of this, but like he says, well, like he shouldn't have been fighting. Brian Costa was trying to not laugh about it, but it becomes a thing when this sport doesn't exist without us. Mm-hmm. And at some point, you just got to say enough's enough. In the ratings, and I know he says there's metrics and different and all the other bullshit. I should have you watch the fucking video. The words. I mean, he is He is good at the word salad. The guy can talk for 4 minutes and say literally nothing. Espinoza, but he is a weasel. And last night was a fucking joke. Thank God for the fucking Kazakhstan boy, with his fucking second round knockout. At least that was somewhat exciting. Although it was, to be predicted. But
Maloney versus Astro Boy. Maloney versus Astro Boy on the top rank card. That wasn't too bad. I didn't like Maloney running in the last round, but it is what it is. Real quick, we're going to open up the phone line soon, but I still got a couple of questions to ask you guys and comments to make as well myself. But shout out to Hyperspaz for his contribution to Super Chat. He says, is it possible when they first make challenging matchups that they do so while planning on canceling it to replace a fighter with a last-minute bum? Shout out to Hyperspaz for his contribution. Yeah, guys, that's the theory that I was reading. That, and again, there's no hardcore evidence. Forget about proof. There's very little evidence to suggest it. It's just a hypothesis or theory. But some people are claiming that they really need to do well on pay-per-view with Tank Davis. And right now, Ryan Garcia, they did well with him, 800,000 pay-per-view buys, but they're not going to be able to do that with everybody else. So they knew They knew that they had two options: a rematch with Cruz or a rematch with Romero. Now they looked at the Romero Puello fight. And some people claim that, hey, maybe the PBC saw, maybe Romero doesn't beat Puello, and rightly so, because we just saw how he did last night. Maybe they decided to, sideline Puello, because they controlled USADA essentially, or Rovada, whatever it is, sideline him, get Barroso's in there, and let Romero get the title, and that way you get Tank Davis fighting Romero for another title. That makes some sense, right, guys? But it doesn't, there's no... Hyperspaz, I think that's why Hyperspaz is suggesting that. Would you be surprised if things like that occur?
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't doubt it, because they know Puello would have fucking destroyed that fucking simp. But did you notice who he called out after the fight? He kind of, little Davis, but then right away, but, I want Ryan Garcia, because we can do that shit on Showtime, because they know where those pay-per-view numbers came from. You know what I'm saying? Even the simpleton knew it wasn't fucking Tank Davis. Those numbers came from fucking Ryan. That's why he wants to fight Ryan Garcia.
You were correct.
And you know what, Jimmy? It's interesting because I was telling Bucho about this. If you're Ryan Garcia, why would you want to go to the PBC? First of all, they're going to try to get you with the fucking rehydration clause probably or whatever else. And on top of that, they're doing a horrible business. How do you even know if you're going to get paid, right? If you're Ryan Garcia, would you even try to go back there?
No, and it's not guaranteed money either. So but it's 140 this time, so it'd be no weight train. And plus, Ryan, I would think would have learned. I would think that from the last one, that listen, don't give up everything to make that fight happen. I don't think he realized the numbers he was bringing with him. It was his personality. But the thing is with Ryan, he's not going to do those numbers either. It's no small thing when you have Julio Cesar Chavez saying, I'm done with him. Like, he lost a lot of fucking people when he fucking gave up and then said those stupid things after the fight. So a lot of casuals who turned in, who've been, following him, a lot of gay men who've been fucking beaten off to his little shaved belly for fucking years, said, oh, I want to see him fight. And then they were like, oof, I don't want to see him fight again. So those numbers are done. That was a one-time deal. His popularity is not going to be the same when next time he fights. Mm-hmm. So that's my theory on that.
You mentioned earlier, and some people could be saying, actually, let me just read the super chat here real quick. Shout out to the Funktopus for his contribution to the super chat. He says, who will be the ref next weekend? You should make a poll. You know what? The Funktopus, that's an excellent idea, but I just have to look up the most likely candidates so I could make a poll. But, Steve Kim tweeted that he talked to, I forget who he talked to, I think over a Top Rank, and he asked them that question. He says, do you guys get any idea who the ref is going to be for the Loma versus Haney fight? He says, the guy replied, I don't know, but it's probably not going to be Tony Weeks. So Weeks right now, he's become a little bit of a joke, man. And let me ask you this, guys. Jimmy, you once mentioned something that was very insightful when you said about how they probably tell the referee to benefit the other guy. They don't do it directly. They do it indirectly. And I think you said that what they probably do is the commissioners go up to the ref and they go, listen, we just want to make sure we get a safe fight today. We don't want anybody hurt. So essentially they're nudging him, telling him, if you can get a chance to stop it early, stop it early. Do you think a guy like Tony Weeks, if he got compensated or whatever, again, we're not saying that he did, but let's say he did.
I'm saying it.
Okay, but do you think
he got paid?
Do you think he feels like it was worth it to throw his reputation down the line?
I know. I think that he realized right after he stopped it. Oh fuck! Especially when he sees the replay and he sees the dude. I mean, literally. First off, the knockdown wasn't a knockdown. He was pushed down. Yes, he was hurt. And again, when you the dude has scoliosis in his back. You see the curvature of the dude's back. He's so. I mean, come on, man.
Oh man,
that dude ain't 40. He's probably in his 50s. So. But he was definitely second win. But yeah, no, Tony Weeks too. I try to dig in to see what he's all about. He's an actor. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's what he does outside. You know, he does character acting gigs, and so maybe he needed the money. But listen, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was the host guy. They didn't. I guess Barroso isn't a PBC fighter. That's not a PBC fighter.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah.
So there's no chance he could walk away with the belt because whoever who's under him, whoever his promoter, who his handler is, his lawyer, they would have been in control of that belt. They could not allow that belt to leave the PBC island. And Tony Weeks knew that. And Tony Weeks looked up at the clock. And also, Coach Malachi made a good insight. He said that he noticed, and he's going to talk about tomorrow, I guess, that he saw fucking fake Al Heyman guy, what's his name, Watson, the one who just his job is to remind fighters to thank Al Heyman, that he winked at Tony. He said he saw him wink at Tony Weeks.
Wait a minute.
Weeks.
That's a big accusation right there. I'd need to see video evidence for that, although I'm not doubting it.
I'd like to see it too.
I'm not doubting it at all, man. Because, that's like, how do you throw your reputation? And you know what, Jimmy, even... I forget the name of the guy there. He was a Latino guy. Remember when Agbeco fought Maris, and Maris hit him about 20, 30 times in the balls? One of the worst referee performances ever. Even that guy, and maybe somebody can refresh my memory who the ref was, Frank, no, not Frank. Anyway, he gave an interview afterwards. He went into the mouth of the beast against autistic Jim Gray, and Jim Gray let him have it, and the guy took it. This time they said, fuck it. And Butcher brought up the good points. He said, what was he going to say? They were going to spin it, and they expect us to swallow. Guess what? I'm spitting it right back in their faces, and I'm saying no more. How about that?
Yep. He ran from the ring. He wasn't even like, if you see it, he just bolted. He knew he was going to. I mean, that was a partisan roly fucking crowd. It was in Las Vegas. So it was a partisan crowd. They were all on for him, and they were booing. Remember? They were like, oh man, that's just rank. And to his little small mind credit, the fucking Born This Way kid there, fucking Romero, he's even said, oh, well, I know. I think he wanted the fight. I think the fight should have been going on. I mean, so he even knew. I mean, but they should, if the WBA, which they don't, Gilberto Mendoza, like him, and I tweeted out, the dude's a prostitute. He's not going to fucking say nothing. But he should instantly come out today. The WBA is going to hold this belt up until there's an investigation, or we're going to have the commission find out exactly. Sit weeks down. If you want to show like you have integrity, that's what you do. You hold the fucking thing up. And then, either run it back. And again, he was up on all three scores. A lot of betting on that, right? Boxing is driven by gambling and always has been, always will. So when you do fixes like that, that's bad. That's bad. When it's an obvious, like that obvious level of corruption, that's terrible. Like that's when the police should get involved, because was Tony Weeks paid off by a fucking mobster or someone who had big money on a stoppage on that round? I don't know. It was when it's that obvious. And listen, to even his credit, and I'm not a fan of Dana White as a human being, but when a referee fucks up in his organization, he eviscerates them. There's been guys, you'll never see him referee another UFC event. I can promise you that. And he's even fired judges because of egregious scores. So, like, that shit would not fly in the UFC. And again, that's the reason why UFC is kicking the dick into boxing.
Yep, absolutely, man. Yeah, it's at this point, again, this is why when people go, oh, you're hating on the PBC. Listen, forget we told you so. Forget we're not egomaniacs. We don't give a shit about saying we told you so. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in, as boxing fans, let's finally get on the same pathway here, on the same wavelength, and start saying, you know what, PBC, get the fuck out of boxing, man. Let my people go. Let all these boxers who are in contract with the PBC who can't fight because, you know, they're sidelined essentially. Let them go. Let them go to the zone. Let them go to ESPN. Let's get the best fights possible. The tribalism needs to end. And this is why when people go, why do you always talk about the LDBC? Why do you think, fuck faces? Do you think this is actually helping boxing? This having one group segregate themselves and sucking the dick of one promotional company? Look, the zone, the top rank, when they've got their issues, we call them out too. Because again, we're boxing fans, we're boxing consumers. We're boxing consumers. If you're okay with these type of fights, then it's probably because you don't pay for them. That's probably it. Exactly. That's why these guys go, oh, this card ain't that bad. Yeah, because you're not paying for it. Let's all get together and start demanding the best fights possible. And again, if you're a race... You
brought up the LDBC. I want to say something. Like we're always going after them, the content contributors.
Well, not like always, but
LDBC. No, I am, not you. I am. So I should have said me, because I think they're horrific, divisive, vile individuals. But then again, they don't exist in a vacuum. They wouldn't exist if there wasn't a huge segment of people who want to hear that stuff. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have that many followers, and it wouldn't be able to continue. So it's not just the LDBC; it's a whole segment of people who just eat that shit up.
Yeah,
and I just maybe had blinders on, and I didn't realize how bad things are in this country in that capacity. But clearly, it's a lot worse than I thought it was.
But that's why I'm happy that even they're unable to sugarcoat this, which indicates that maybe finally they're waking up, and now we can all start saying, you know what, PBC, let these guys go, let these fighters go, let them go to. I mean, come on, imagine a competent promoter having Gary Anton Russell and Matias under the same banner and putting them together and making that fight. Because with the PBC, they've got one card per month. They give their guys one shot per year, unless they're Tank Davis Tank Davis is the only one so far who's fought twice this year. And that's because they know he's their golden goose, and maybe they felt like they needed a, what's the word I'm looking for here? You know, a good, solid pay-per-view showing to sort of make it seem as if they're still afloat. Whatever the case may be, this is ruining boxing. It's ruining boxing, and we need to finally get it together here. By the way, I opened up the phone lines in case anybody wants to call in and give us their thoughts on what transpired last night. What's the future of boxing? Yeah. Can this be fixed?
Call in, guys, and let us have it. Let's hear your anger.
Exactly. Yeah, call in. We'll get open lines. Let's finally start building a bridge. That's what I always say here. We're mending fences over here at BDA finally, because it took a big wake-up call, a shock like this, a big shock to get people to wake up and realize that the PBC is no good for boxing. All right? So if you're trying to be divisive and all that in the chat, whatever, listen, this ain't the show for you, man. We're going to finally get boxing. We're going to make boxing great again. That's what we're going to try to do. And we're going to fail, or we're going to go down in fire trying. That's what we're going to do. Oh, geez, Luis. Okay, I see we got a lot of phone calls here already. Let me make sure that everything's working here. And then when we get the time, I still have something to bring up here, Jimmy, about Errol Spence. All right, let's go to the phone calls here. Let's go to 419. 419, you're on the air. 419, what's on your mind?
Bye, baby.
Yeah, what's up, y'all? It's Raphael 32 from Toledo, Ohio. What did I tell you on last week on BDA? I said, with all this shit that's going on, and this is before the Rolly fight, I said, I'm going to stop watching boxing.
Oh, yeah,
but I'm not going to stop him because I don't want the
That's right.
boxing.
That's right. I remember you. That's right.
Oh, man. Go ahead, Raphael. Yeah.
And I just want to say this. Okay. Rolly was actually turning into a good fight. It was he was coming on at the time of the stoppage. He looked better against Tank to me. This is the worst I've seen him. He looked good against Yigit also. I guess they were trying to he was trying to move his feet more. What Bullet was telling him to do, that just wasn't working for him. He should have just planted down and went to go brawl like he normally does. Now, Al stole that fight, and they stole the fight from everybody because Rolly was coming on in the fight, and he just stopped it, and everybody's mouth went like, "What the fuck?" After that, I saw this on your what do you call it, Discord, BDA. Somebody posted the chicks from Barroso's camp actually tried to start a fight with Bullet, and it was just wild. It was, calling them bitches and pussies and shit. And
oh man.
And I just want to say one more thing is on the top of my mind. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, it's just ridiculous. Barroso, yeah. We talk about Barroso being an old man. That dude has like 24 wins. Nobody looked at his record, 22 KOs. You know what I mean? So we can talk about him all we want to, but he has a high percentage KO record. So Al, I'm just I'm still gonna watch boxing, but it's ridiculous.
Rafael, fucking Barroso's got stopped by Anthony Crolla years ago, and I think his saving grace was that he'd beaten upset one of those British guys about 7 years ago. I think he lost to Anthony Crolla, who is looked at as an awful win by Lomachenko's detractors, and that was years ago at 135. Mm-hmm. He's 40 now. He looks to be 65 in a different weight class. I don't care how long the layoff was for the younger guy. He's not supposed to look like this. I guess the guy that looks like he came out of the fucking jungle, from the guerrilla jungle of Venezuela. I mean, it was ridiculous, man. And you know what? If you want to leave boxing right now, I'm not even going to try to talk you out of it anymore.
But you know what? We got the fight coming up this week against Devin. I think Loma wins, and we got the Fulton and the Monster fight. That's the fight I've been looking forward to the most, is Fulton and the Monster. And you know what I mean? It's going to be over in Japan, and they do things right over there in Japan. It's quiet. Right. The crowd will be quiet, but it won't be no stoppage like this USA bullshit. And that's really all I have to say.
All right, Rafael, listen, thank you for your call. Call back next time, man. Take it easy out there.
All right, thank you.
Take it easy, man. Yeah, man, you know what? It seems to me like that's the other thing that we were talking about. Bullet needs to be fired. No pun intended. All right, let's go to another phone call. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Shout out to Puro Sur in the chat. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 346. 346, you're on the air. 346, what's on your mind? 346, I can't hear you, man. 346, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Heyman, the WBA, Bayless, and what's the other guy's name? Weeks? Tony Weeks. All these guys, basically, they're all ruining boxing. You know, basically, black people are ruining boxing.
Okay, wait a minute.
And if you're a non-black fighter over there at the PBC, you got to be a fool to stay over there because they're just using you as fodder.
You know what? I did hear some people say that, and I mean, it's hard to disagree with the results the way they're going. But look, last night was just a culmination of bad management over there. That's really all it is, man. And it's a combination of things. It's lethargy from the fighters, inactivity from their end, bad management from Al Heyman, who always wants to micromanage everything. It's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. But listen, we got a lot of phone calls, man. Yes, keep going, man. Any other points you want to make?
No, that's basically it. That they're ruining boxing and with their tribalism, because if you see, they protect the black fighter no matter what. Look at the Rayo fight versus Cobra. Cobra's not even a big name, and they still gave him the fight over Rayo. And now you got a fucking Rolly who's not even a big name either, but I guess.
Listen, I agree that
they're just robbing any boxer that isn't black American. You're gonna get fucked over there. So I don't get why fucking people stay at the fucking PBC if you're not black.
I agree that there's
no benefit to it at all.
Caller, I agree that there's a more urban flavor over the PBC. That being said, like somebody said in the chat, Rolly ain't black, and I think they have their favorites over the PBC. But you are correct though. That's the majority of the favorite fighters over there that they treat very well happen to be Afro-Anglos. Now there are exceptions like Danny Garcia, Leo Santa Cruz, Rolly Romero. But overall, it's there's something weird going on, man. And that's why we as boxing fans needs to call out the bullshit, because we need the best fights possible. And they're not going to happen if there's tribalism the way it's going over there. So listen, caller, we got a lot of calls, but shout out to you, man. Thank you for speaking your mind, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Take it easy, man. Yeah, man, listen, I mean, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, I've seen some of that. I can't quite pull the trigger just yet. But I mean, with the PBC, I think I've said it before that I do see a lot of that going on over there. So it's kind of hard to disagree with the caller, let me tell you. Let's go to another phone call here. And don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Let's go to 214. 214, you're on the air. 214, what's on your mind?
Well, I got 3 points, guys.
Sure.
This fight that happened last night, it was, I don't think that the WBA had anything to do with it, but if they don't respond appropriately, then they probably should be, they should probably be banned from being, having their belt on being viewed on TV, because something else happened similar to this. It was with this guy, this black guy. He was fighting this, I think, a Colombian guy, and then he was winning every round, and they still gave it to the Colombian guy, and it happened on PBC, and that people were so outraged that, it forced their hand. And my problem with the WBA is that, they never want to do anything. I think there was this one time where Murata, they felt Murata was robbed, and they did something about it, because Murata is a big guy in Japan. But because these guys are nobodies, Barroso is a quote-unquote nobody, I don't think they're going to do the right thing. They're not going to try to get Tony Reeds to see what happened. They're not going to try to investigate it. I remember when Jermell Charlo had knocked out the Dominican guy with a jab to the stomach, and the IBF said they're going to do an investigation on it. I don't think the WBA, unless you force their hand, they're never going to do the right thing. I think it's time for them to go, and I think it's time for the PBC to go. I was defending them before, but I think it's time to go. The fighters are too inactive. The 154 division is kind of stagnant. They try to get them out there, but they're stagnant. The only guy who's really making moves is Tim Tszyu, and Tim Tszyu, he's giving them content. And my second point is that I think Top Rank and the Zone should take over. If you're not with Top Rank or the Zone, you should be a free agent. So you can work with either one. And I think, and my third point is that they did all this for Tank Davis. They did this to protect Tank Davis because Tank Davis needs champions on his resume, and they need to protect Tank Davis at all costs. If this guy would have lost, it would have made Tank Davis look extremely bad, and it's not just the way losing, it's the way he was losing. He got dropped by a 40-year-old. It makes Tank look bad. You know how when you beat a guy and then he goes on to do great things, they say, kind of like with Canelo and Floyd Mayweather. They said that, Floyd made Canelo great and all this other bullshit. And, but if he would have lost, it would have made, Tank look bad. Like, hey, Tank fought this guy. Tank lost rounds to this guy. Those are basically my points.
Great points, man. Great points. You're right, man. And yeah, now when you said they gotta go, the PBC, you're not saying anybody should get whacked. You're not saying go in the way the Italians say when they go. These guys gotta go.
Nah.
Okay. Just to cover. I'm just covering you legally. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Great
killed.
points, man. Great points, caller. We do have a lot of calls, so we got to move on, man. But I agree with everything you said. Absolutely. Call back next time, man. Take it easy out there.
All right. Well.
All right, man. Yeah, they're good points, man. Yeah, it says these guys have to be free agents because they're stagnating over there. And I think the fight he was talking about, the Colombian guy, was that Mikhail Fox or something? That was his name? 154. It was some tall dude, I remember. And yeah, that was an awful decision too. All right, let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 631. 631, you're on the air. 631, what's on your mind?
Yeah, so first, before anything, I'd like to say that I think you guys are very ableist on BDA and Busho. I don't understand why you don't appreciate that Al Heyman was giving a chance to a retard to win the title. I think you guys are really take that in consideration. And that's really fucked up, I'm going to be honest. But on the real,
yeah.
But on the real, I was honestly so surprised, man. I was just there. I was like, damn, they gave it to you, Rolly. This was I thought this was gonna be the easiest thing in the world. I didn't even bother watching it. I only watched it because the top rank card ended in like 2 seconds. But I'm looking and I'm just like, damn, like they gave you everything. They gave you an old man on short notice. And honestly, Barroso's best days, I forgot which guy was talking about his record. That record was really like at its best when he was at lightweight. After that, he kind of, I don't know, he kind of dropped off a little bit. And also, you guys were talking about belts earlier. And honestly, I don't really agree on the sole fact because of, guys like Ryan do exist. And, when you look at Ryan, he was a dude that kind of like said, I'm not going to fight these guys because they have titles and titles don't matter to me. And he instead just fought a lot of fucking bums and then lost to Davis, who was holding a Reggie belt, which was kind of ironic. So I never really got to that. And also the belts aren't really bad except for PBC. They're the only like real cancer in the sports that's having belts, and doing it in the worst way, with this fucking piece of shit Danny Garcia fight, this Rolly fight that just came. I mean, the worst issue you could say from Top Rank is what? They made the stupid French fries belt or whatever. And they just made that so that they could have a fucking Loma versus what's his name fight versus Teo fight, which everybody wanted anyway. So I don't really agree with that. Besides that, also apparently someone in your comment section said that Russell wasn't there because he got into like a assault case or something. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay. Now, let me just say real quick that I agree with you about the Ryan Garcia thing. Yeah, you're right. That's the other side of the coin when it comes to the titles. You could get a free guy like that, like a lone wolf who decides, I'm not going to fight for the titles, but it's because he doesn't want to fight anybody. Because at least the good thing about the titles is that they do enforce sometimes the mandatories. And like I said, we've said it before too. Yeah, that these guys need titles too. Like a guy like Barroso, he would have benefited from having a title. He could probably maybe have gone to Venezuela and had a title fight there, make money, one last shot at a payday or something. And now he's not even going to get that. So you're right. I do agree. That's the other side of the coin to that, man. But listen,
I will say it's kind of disheartening to just think of that that Chone isn't going to get a title ever in his career, but Rolly got one.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's insane,
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's insane, man. But anyway, listen, we got to move on to a phone call, man. But thank you for your call and the call back next time, right? Who is this, by the way? I think I've heard you before.
Oh, yeah, it's Ray.
Ray, okay, yeah. Ray. Shout out to you, Ray. Thank you for calling in, man. Catch you in the next one. All right, that was Ray. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 972. 972, you're on the air. 972, what's on your mind?
What's going on, fellas?
What's up, man?
I'll keep it brief, man, but firstly, I kind of wanted to differentiate myself from like one of the other callers that was saying a specific race was ruining boxing. I don't agree with that. I think that all races contribute to the greatness of boxing, despite, boxing being the Wild West. And kind of like last night, yeah, we get a lot of that bullshit every now and then. But secondly, generally speaking, I enjoy some of the fights that the PBC puts on. Obviously, they're not perfect either, but I do enjoy, like, whenever we get to see guys like Fundora and Lubin and those type of good fights. And Kenneth Sims Jr. put on a hell of a fight last night, too, against Akhmadov. That was a good fight. But even then, there's really no defending what we all saw yesterday, man. That shit was terrible, dude. That 40-year-old dude went out there and fought his ass off and put Rolly on his ass legitimately. He was up on all three of those cards. And it's hard to look at that and not say that there's still rampant, obvious corruption in the sport. Because as that fight was stopped, he was still weaving shots, man. It was really crazy to look at.
Yeah, man, listen, caller, sometimes the trash can be entertaining because it's boxing, and boxing tends to be entertaining for the most part. But my main complaint with this, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, is the fact that a lot of these Showtime guys, when they do fight, it's usually after 1 year layoffs. So we're not getting the best quality product.
No, I do agree with you on that point. These guys are inactive for a while. I don't even think that we've seen Ugas come back yet either. But I think I wanted to stress that point because I think it's important sometimes not just to listen to a bunch of people that agree with you all the time, because otherwise we find ourselves in an echo chamber. But nevertheless, whether I agree with everything that's said on the show, I enjoy the show either way. But I just kind of wanted to make that point out there, because even, you know, the times that I do enjoy PBC or whatever they put on for us, man, that shit last night, dude, that just leaves a really bad taste in your mouth. And I hope, kind of like what Jimmy said, I really hope they give this guy another shot. But even if they did, there's no telling if he'd put on the same type of performance with his age. So, he's probably never going to have another shot like that again, and it probably will just disappear as time goes on. But I don't know, it's going to be kind of hard to move on from that one. And Rolly is basically food for anybody in the top 10 at 135, 140. Especially if they put him in it with someone like Matias. Oh, man, nah. He's going to be that guy on a stretcher.
Yeah, that's someone's ending up in a stretcher, and he's already killed people, so could be a repeat. Well, listen, 972, man, we do have to move on because we got a bunch of other calls, but I agree with you. We do need more unity in boxing, because I'm getting tired of the tribalism. People make it hard to enjoy the sport when you've got this type of tribalism. And we only want the best fights possible. So if the PBC goes down and we get those fights, then I guess that's what it's going to take, man. But shout out to you, man, and call back next time.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we can definitely agree on that, man. And at least we can also agree that what we witnessed last night was some bullshit. But, man, I'm back in the chat, man.
All right. Thank you, man. Take it easy out there. See, we've got we're mending fences over here at BDA Boxing. It's peace and love. That's what I wanted that to be the motto, by the way, for the BDA Boxing. Peace and love. But then again, we get too much cursing, too much salty language. That's not gonna happen. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 213. 213, you're on the air. 213, what's on your mind?
Hey, salutations, Mr. BDA, Jimmy, and King Bucho. It's Campos from East LA. Yeah, just wanted. I'm not trying to sound condescending, but why was Rolly given that belt? Why? Why? Okay, so Rolly's not going to fight Ryan Garcia because he might have a chance to lose to Ryan. They're going to keep that belt within the PBC. Look at all of the divisions where PBC has a stranglehold on belts. All of those divisions are stagnant. The divisions don't unify. Jermel was the only exception because all of the belts were on the PBC side. We didn't have undisputed unification at heavyweight. We didn't have it at light heavyweight. We didn't have it at middleweight. We don't get those unifications. And number two, it's Campos. I wanted to give my prediction for Haney versus Loma. I have Loma by decision. And on Fulton versus Inoue, I'm going to put money on Loma to beat Haney. On Fulton versus Inoue, I have Fulton winning, but I'm not absolutely convinced of it, and I'm not going to put money on that.
All right, hold on. Campos, what did you say for Loma? Because I'm writing it down here.
I have Loma beating Haney by decision.
You're sounding very emotional, let me tell you. That's what people say when you pick Loma.
Yeah, I'm emotional. I'm very emotional. I was the mole in the Ryan Garcia camp, remember?
Oh, yeah, you were.
And another thing I wanted to add, Rolly, they're going to feed him to another PBC up-and-comer, or they're going to feed him to Tank. Rolly's going to fight another PBC no-hoper, maybe for a fight or two, to kind of build him up again so people forget about the robbery. Because remember, Rolly also robbed Marinez, the kid from the Dominican Republic.
That's right.
So there's a lot of people, and I understand, there's a lot of people saying that PBC is pro-black or only black fighters. No. Many of the PBC fighters, regardless of religion, race, color, creed, etc., they're getting the decisions. It's fixed. And one of the guys that I would love for you to interview, Mr. BDA, is Francesi, the guy that went Christian, the mobster that went Christian.
Oh, yeah.
If you ever listen to him, he has a lot of info on boxing, on how the mob used to fix boxing, on how like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson were part of like boxing and getting the fight fixed. If you could ever interview him, and also just like you, Mr. BDA, he's a man of God. So he's a born again Christian, And that's my call. Thank you. And also, guys, if you're listening, please hit the like button. All right, take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Campos. Thank you for the excellent call. Thank you for the promotion. Yeah, Franchisi, if he's a man of God, I'm going to try to get him on the true path of the Crimson Cross, because that is really the zenith, the ultimate path towards Christianity. So shout out to you, Campos. Take it easy out there. All right. Yes, we got a lot of phone calls here. So let's move on to the next one. Like I said, don't forget to hit the like. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Really helps us out. Let's go to 661. Hold on a second. Yes, 661. You're on the air. 661. What's on your mind?
I just want to remind everybody how it's funny how you guys didn't mention the Canelo versus Ryder flop, total fail. I'm not surprised. Number two, why is everybody giving Rolly a hard time? And like pieces of shit like Campos, racist people like Campos, who just the recent caller, people like him who hate on Benavidez, but he was quiet about Canelo and Ryder. But anyways, people are giving Rolly the Latino a hard time. Why aren't you mentioning the fake fight with Johnny Beck and that other white guy? The fake fight with KSI. Well, everybody's talking this and that, Rolly this, right? All this hate on the Latinos, but did you guys see the face-off with Johnny Beck and that guy? The guy just walked off because he knew that was just a stay busy fight for Johnny Beck. It was just a fake. Every single fight yesterday was rigged, and that's exactly why all white people should be lynched one by one in unison. Kill all.
First of all, okay, shut up. If you say that, I'm very paranoid. I'm very paranoid now, because if you say things like that, I think we could get taken off YouTube. So let's. Yeah,
these are not
usually
BDA views.
It's free. Yeah, okay. But even then. But anyway, listen, Shadow Man. First of all, we were gonna get to the Canelo numbers.
Man, you're a tough guy saying that. Behind the screen, got to say that.
Jimmy, you're like 80 years old. You wouldn't do nothing. I'll put you to
trust this. I would rip your fucking head off and shit down your neck.
These crackers have it coming.
Easy work. I seen you pudgy, scrawny-armed little fucking weirdo. Get out of here, you mental patient. Get off on your medication. Fucking, why don't you speak some Spanish for us? Latin boy.
Wait. He's speaking Dracula.
You fucking loser clown.
Jimmy, hold on. He's speaking Dracula. Let him go. Go ahead. He hung up. Jimmy, you got him talking in Transylvanian, man. You got him talking in Transylvanian. First of all, if he's going to call us... because we were going to get to the Canelo numbers, but we're just talking about what happened last night. That's number one. Number two, if he's going to accuse us of being Canelo fanboys, I'm going to accuse him of never mentioning Epstein's mind shift program, because he talks about the microchips, the soul catcher, but he doesn't mention Epstein.
He went on to Ring. I was listening to Ring one night, and they were he just got torched, and Ring started talking to him in Spanish, Mr. Latino, and he couldn't speak Spanish.
Come on.
All right? No, he couldn't. This kid can't speak Spanish. He hung up because he couldn't speak Spanish.
Well, listen, I like Shadow Band, but
I was going to call up here and fucking with his all white people should be lynched. Fuck out of here with that shit. I'm 80. I won't do nothing.
I understand why you would be pissed off at that, because, I mean, you are a white man. Even though I always say you're half white, because you're half Italian. So let's stop with the whole white thing there, Jimmy.
Exactly. I do have more blood in me, without a doubt. Sicilian. I got Sicilian in me, so you know what I mean? I run hot, no doubt about it. But what an ignorant fucking thing to say. Like, I would never say that about any race. You just talked about the liquidation of an entire race of fucking people. Like, what a coward thing to say. Like a coward thing to say over the internet.
A fake Vernon in the chat is saying Shadowban speaks facts. First of all, I refuse to believe that that's the real Vernon. Come on, he hasn't even mentioned Kit Austin once, so that can be the real Vernon. All right, listen. Don't forget to hit the like if you enjoy the insanity going on here. Hit the like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 240. 240. You're on the air. 240. What's on your mind? 240. You're on the air, man. Going once. Going twice. 240. Going once, going twice. Right, he hung up. Don't forget to hit the like I said, fellas. Hit the like. Vernon in the chat says, yo, mama. That's
if a white dude called on this fucking panel and said, oh, fucking Mexicans should be lynched, I'd have fucking freaked out on him too. Or any race. I don't play that fucking shit. You know what I mean? But he just picks his spots and shit. But
well, you're a different man than I am, Jimmy.
And I also have fucking, you know what? Okay, I'm an old man. All right, I have one of my fucking nephews would smoke his ass. I seen that kid. I seen him with his shirt off. My fucking girlfriend would slap the taste out of his mouth.
Ah, come on,
with his fucking 12-inch arms and his bitch tits. Fucking
See, I'll
goof.
let people talk about genociding whole races, but I draw the line at making fun of people's appearances. That's where I draw the line. All right, let's go to the phone call here. Let's go to 323. 323, you're on the air. 323. We got two 323s, by the way. 323-864, you're on the air. 323-864.
Gentlemen, how are you? It's me, Steve Kim.
It does, yes, indeed. Shout out to Steve Kim. What's up, man?
Hey,
Steve, what's up, brother?
enjoying the show, hanging out here. It's always great to hear you guys holding it down. Want to get the word on the streets. A couple things, guys. I know you got a lot of calls. I don't want to take too much time, guys. I'll give Showtime credit. I actually thought they had the best fight of the night. Kenneth Sims, Batir Akhmadev was an excellent fight. I enjoyed that fight. It could have gone either way. Akhmadev's probably the hardest luck fighter in the game. All three of his losses were tight, grinding battles, and I texted Joel Diaz right after the fight, and I said, the WBA and the PBC don't like you guys, so I try a new route with him, but that was an excellent fight. And also, ESPN, they got to do something here in terms of Janibek. That fight was a mismatch, and I called it Flotsam and Jetsam, what was going on, and we got to be fair about this. Stephen Butler had no business being in a world title fight. That was very predictable. And the other thing I want to mention is that Tony Weeks, and I finished my article several weeks ago, guys, I think it is very hard to actually prove any corruption where there's a brown paper bag filled with $100 bills. But one of the lines that I use in my story is something I was taught long ago from an old boxing guy. Fighters fight for today. Judges and referees perform for tomorrow. So, the inference is that Tony Weeks, I think he had a job to do, and he's like, we're kind of in trouble here. Wrong guy is winning. Let me come and save the day, and he did. It's the worst stoppage I've ever seen, fellas.
Whoa, and that says something.
Then that says a lot, yeah. You were about to say that, Mr. BDA. That says a lot, because you've seen a lot of bad stoppages, Steve. That was... Like I tweeted out, it was the first time I was, like, honestly saying I was embarrassed to be a boxing fan. Like, it was just so obvious what happened. Even the knockdown was questionable. It was more of a push, but he definitely was, his legs weren't out from under him. But like you said about the Sims fight against, I think I saw somebody say in the 3 fights that he has lost, a combined landed his opponents by 229 punches. Like everybody, I think he landed Sims by like 50. I don't think judges score the body punches like they used to. Maybe, I don't know.
No, and look, and I really thought the biggest robbery of all 3 was the one with Barrios. I was actually at that fight. That was at the Porter Spence undercard. I thought he clearly won 9 to 10 rounds, but they got knocked down twice. The other fights were kind of sort of close. I could kind of see where you didn't give it to him. But, again, as it relates to Rolly Romero, he's kind of like the poor man's modern-day version of Ricardo Mayorga. He's kind of, a wild guy, can't really fight all that much, can punch a little bit, very flawed. But he's basically propped up to be that colorful B-side that gets whacked out. So that's the agenda there. It is what it is. Like I told you guys several months ago, I really no longer take this all that seriously. I don't get upset over it. I kind of chuckle at most of the stuff that goes on. Like I said, you guys are content creators. I'm a content creator. We need fights to happen because, quite frankly, that's what we need to talk about. So whether it's a good fight, bad fight, terrible decision, or controversy or travesty, just have fun with it. It's ingredients to cook with. And so, as soon as that Tony Weeks stoppage happened, I said, okay, well, I got my column for the next day. So, there's no need to get angry about it because, quite frankly, there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, you know what, man? Like you... Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
No, go. I just got a question for him after.
No, go ahead, because then I got to read a super chat afterwards.
Okay. Did you happen to see Espinoza's Twitter spats, which he normally does anyways? He likes to argue with people.
You
what
mean
did you
Wolf
think of that?
Spinoza? I kind of did. Look, he has a factual point. Nobody blames ESPN for something that might happen on a top-ranked show or Fox for a bad call in the NFL. But I think you guys make a great point when you say nobody in those situations acts as the proxy the way he does with PBC. So he invites that type of thing. Like, he goes far and beyond just being the broadcast television partner of that particular group. So I think he invites a lot of it on himself. And, you know, it is kind of funny that Twitter gets on his ass, because at the end of the day, if he wouldn't say half the stuff he says, trying to gaslight people or trying to virtue signal, none of this would be happening to him.
Exactly.
No, in fact, he actually said too, real quick, Miss BDA. He said in an interview with Fight Hub, when talking about the demise of the PBC, he linked himself to it. He said, "I think a lot of people want to see it fail because they don't like me or they don't like Al Heyman." So it's you know what I mean. So exactly, you hit the nail right on the head with that. He injects himself into the story so deeply.
Yeah,
right. And you know, the other thing is, Al Bernstein took issue with my story because I questioned the veracity of Barroso. And by the way, the thing with Barroso, I actually announced a couple of his fights several years ago when he was with Greg Cohen. He could punch. He's a really good puncher. The problem is he's more of a natural lightweight, and all three of his losses coming in were by the stoppage variety. So he didn't have great punch resistance. So here's an interesting thing, guys, about that knockdown in the 9th round. I even thought that was a very shady call, because if you look at the scorecards, guys, I think one judge, while they all three had Barroso winning, two of the judges had it a little bit closer than I think most other people. So let's say the knockout never happens, but that becomes a 10-8 round based on a really bad call. Now you're setting the stage where Rolly just comes forward and does enough to squeak out the last 3 rounds. Guess what? He probably could have won a split decision. So you can just angle that all you want. What I did find interesting is that a lot of big-name trainers like Andre Rozier and Kevin Cunningham, who certainly has a lot of fighters with the PBC, I give them credit. They did not hold back. They were absolutely disgusted by that decision last night to stop the fight.
Even the great Clarissa Shields referred to her in the third person. She says the greatest woman of all time did not like this stoppage. That's what she said. She referred to herself as the GWOAT.
Oh, she didn't.
That's. I mean, I'm telling you that the ego on her. She's really got that under control. Let me tell you. But shout out to Earl Stevens, by the way, for his contribution to the super chat. He says, "I'm tired of Tony Weeks appropriating the Mexican mustache. Cancel him." Yeah, it's true though. He's got like the Cantinflas thing going. It's weird, man. I don't like it. I'm going to start complaining about that, too.
Is he the last guy to have the high top fade
in
America?
He's the one I think so, man. He's got to be the last guy, the last of the Mohicans. But,
yeah.
Wasn't Tony Weeks the referee with that Beterbiev fight when he opened up opened up the American kid's head? I can't remember his name. The black kid a couple of fights ago.
Badu Jack.
What's that?
Are you talking about Badu Jack?
Yeah. Was he the referee? He was covered in blood. Remember that?
He
the
was
picture of like Weeks.
Referee for that, and people have pointed out on Twitter there were some other fights that he let go on where it was really violent and bloody, and one guy was getting pummeled. I literally have. Look, I know Rolly is a strong puncher. No one is a strong enough puncher to miss every single punch and actually hurt somebody. I was kind of in awe that, wow, Tony, you got more balls than a burglar stopping it when you did. I've never seen anything quite like it. And I thought that was very... By the way, the talk of... I know someone brought up, what would Rolly Romero do against a Subriel Matthias, right? Well, I'm being told, guys, it's being reported. Other people have talked about it. Matthias looks like he's going to go to Matchroom, and eventually he's going to face Regis Prograis. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. Look, it's very clear that Rolly is being lined up for one of those guys like Tank or Ryan. But here's the funniest thing, guys. And I know this for a fact, and I can show you proof. That fight card last night on Showtime from the Cosmopolitan was in a very small venue. I've been there before. It's a nice, cozy venue. And I know they gave away a few hundred tickets because I got the proof of it, because the Veterans Ticket Committee They actually put out a notice and someone gave them to me. So even in that little bandbox, that was a papered house. So I have never seen such a mediocre to bad fighter who really doesn't draw get so much privilege. It's baffling to me.
We're all baffled at what just took place last night. And you know what? Look, a lot of people have given you a lot of flack for not being on board the PBC
Telling
program.
the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Let's just
telling
put
the
it that
truth.
way.
And to those people, I say, here's the thing. I refuse to pander to the dummies. It'll never happen. You don't have to like my opinion. I don't care if you like my opinion. You'll keep listening to my opinion, and I'm going to continue to give it. It's a great deal. And speaking of which, guys, here's an unmerciful plug. The 3 Knockdown Rule, guys, it's back. We filmed our first show on Friday because Mario cannot make it tomorrow, so we're not going to be able to talk about what happened this weekend. But I just wanted to let all your listeners know, and you guys, the 3 Knockdown Rule is back in effect, and it'll be on all the modern-day major podcast platforms.
Hey, that's fantastic news
awesome.
right there, man. You heard it right there from Steve Kim, man. And yeah, it's about time it came back, man. There's really no excuse for what you did, but we'll let that slide for now. I will say this.
Look, it wasn't my fault. It was just business. But Jimmy, you said you had a question for me?
Oh, well, no, what I was going to say, I can't remember that question, but I think what's going on with Rolly, honestly, I think whoever's involved in Showtime, or I don't know if it's Showtime or PBC, that whole woke mindset, the woke mind virus going on over there, it's algorithmically driven. I really believe they pay attention to Twitter in whatever way the Twitter wind blows, and they don't care whether it's positive or negative. Rolly gets a lot of a lot of ink on Twitter. Like, people are always tweeting about him and talking about him, whether it's good, positive, or not. And I think that's what they go by. I mean, because I sat there and tried to figure why. What's the purpose? What's the angle? I always try to think, why are people pushing this kid? And the only thing I can think of is just he does elicit a response. So I think they just really, like a lot of the leftist woke media, they're algorithmic driven. It's all about Twitter with these people.
Yeah. They might be, and look, a lot of these media guys, they're afraid to say anything that's going to upset certain people. They don't want to be branded racist or prejudiced, or you just be hatering, and it's like a form of cowardice. These guys really have no guts because they have no other options. This is what, if they lose that gig, where else are they going to get hired? And they don't have enough gumption to actually go out on their own. But I don't understand why giving facts and actually basing it on real evidence, and then with an educated opinion, we are allowed to disagree. I don't really go up on other people's timelines and try to start arguments because, number one, I don't really care about most other opinions. I mean, honestly, we should be allowed to disagree. We should be able to have discourse, but the mere fact of pointing something out, and if you disagree with certain people, they always have that trump card, well, you're racist. And I always say, no, that makes you racist. And then you're at a standstill. So what I do now, guys, which is really fun, instead of just blocking people who get angered by everything you say and react, this is the key now. I'm going to drop a little game for you fellas. Just mute them so they always listen and see your opinions and you never hear them. It's great. It's funny as hell because they think they're really like reaching out to you, and all they're really doing is spitting in the wind. It's great.
I mean, hey, that's one way to go about it. Sure, why not, man? Let them... like you said, they keep going and they're not gaining anything. Yeah, that's one way to go too. You just ignore them, or I have no choice, or we have no choice here. We got to try to get them on board in order to get views and really get some Jerry Springer-like content going. But I will say this, though, Steve, that's why I want to get to, because you've been skeptical, to say the least, of the PBC in the beginning. And then later on, you were just a full-on out pointing out the truth. The way I'm trying to
You mean, hold on. You mean when it was free? Remember that? Those were the good old days, Jimmy. Remember that?
Those were the actual.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, those were the actual golden days of the PBC. But the thing I'm starting to realize now is that, like, for example, what happened last night, even on Twitter, even the usual PBC defenders are MIA because they cannot defend it. And I'm thinking this is a good time or a good opportunity to try to get them onto the fold. I know it sounds crazy because some of them, you don't want them in your fold, but isn't this a good time to try to convince people, like, look, listen, the PBC is bad for boxing. We're not just criticizing it for the sake of it.
BDA, just remember this. People followed Jim Jones all the way to Guyana, Georgetown, what they called Jonestown. At the end, they drank the Kool-Aid. There is no turning certain people. And by the way, guys, you know what's interesting? You talk about how the PBC is run and how they handle careers. And again, this is just another fact. I know people are going to be upset by this. This weekend marks the 1-year anniversary of the last time Jermell Charlo fought. Jimmy, you mentioned the fact that Jermell Charlo has not fought since 2021. This is now exactly 1 year. This is the last time we saw him fight. Was he knocked out Castaño in their rematch? Think about that. And that's actually one of their better fighters who's exciting, colorful character. He's fiery, one of the better fighters in the world. He's been out for a whole year.
Well, you know what? Listen, Steve, you're the one that's been mentioned. I think you're the one that started mentioning it, and that's why I keep mentioning it as well, that the inactivity. Did that play a part in Rolly Romero's performance last night? The fact that he was away for a year.
Why he was even more awfuler than usual, and I did say awfuler because he was awfuler. I mean, look, I think Jimmy will tell you more than I will. He's been in the gym. He's been around fighters. He's been in there. You're either sharpening that blade or it's getting dull. There is no middle ground. And I actually feel sorry for a lot of fighters in this era because they have no real say in how often they fight. And a guy like Rolly Romero, who's already very raw to begin with technically, will have no real chance to actually ever get better. And I think that's the same problem with Janibek, guys. And Janibek's really good. I think he's a talented fighter. But at 13 fights in, if he's not going to do what Golovkin did back when he first came in the States and fight more often to increase his visibility and to sharpen his tools and build a fan base, he will continually be avoided. That's just the reality of the situation. And if you actually look at the Ring Magazine top 10 pound for pound, just using that as a guide, over half of those fighters have only fought once or have not fought at all for the first 5 months of the year. That's alarming.
And you're paying for that, by the way. You're paying $15 on top of your cable bill to watch those guys come off 1 year layoffs. So you're paying for a diluted product, essentially.
And I think a lot of it's with Chris Murphy, the guy over at Showtime, on back of Steve's neck, like Espinoza. They have no money. Like, I think that's pretty clear now. Like, their budgets, pretty much non-existent. And Al Heyman isn't a promoter. He's an advisor. He doesn't go out of pocket. So I think the reason why we're seeing these type of fights with these people is because of that. What's that?
Jimmy, I've been told, because you're bringing up the money and the budgets, which obviously affects what the fighters make. It obviously affects what the network can buy or greenlight as a fight. That's the way it works. I believe Castaño Charlo, which took place exactly 52 weeks ago, was the last time that one of their fighters on the main event made more than $1 million. So that just goes to show you that most of the premium stuff goes to pay-per-view. So when guys like Al Bernstein didn't really like my article because I was actually honest and a little bit critical of what was going on in Showtime, tells me how many great fights they've done. Other people chimed in and said, yeah, but that really good stuff like Plant Benavidez and Tank Garcia cost us another $190 on our cable bill. So I don't know if it shouldn't count on what Showtime is doing because, that's just not my subscription cost. We have to be honest about this stuff. And to be honest, I'll be frank, I don't know if Haney Loma should be a pay-per-view. I don't know how many buys it really does. I think it's an excellent fight. It's meaningful. But based on the fact that neither guy is what I'd call a pay-per-view franchise, I think it would have been a much bigger deal if ESPN would have ponied up the money and said, you know what, we're investing in the boxing. Top Rank's our partner. Let's put a little bit more money into this. Let's get a great rating on our linear network. But I've said for a while, guys, I don't think ESPN cares enough about boxing to do that.
I mean,
I think that's painfully obvious. I think they don't. I don't think they've been a terrible partner in it. They don't advertise. They treat it like a redhead stepchild. I mean, it's disgusting. And the fact that, like, I pay for the
Jimmy,
ESPN.
Hold on, Jimmy. You on the East Coast, you don't like your main events at 1:15 a.m. You don't like boxing way after dark.
That's the thing. That's only a West Coast guy would make. Only a West Coast guy would make fun of that. Steve, you really don't understand the pain we're in staying up to watch some of these cards, man. Especially when they start putting in the hip hop music and the never-ending video packages in between fights. That's nothing to joke about, man. I'm gonna take umbrage with that.
You know what's amazing, guys? The last year or two, I've actually charted this where if a fight ends, I'll write down the time. and then I'll actually write down the time of when the next fight actually kicks off. And it's amazing that the UFC, because I've done this on some other pay-per-view cards that I've watched with Mario, we actually keep track of it. The UFC takes about 15 to 17 minutes per bout to flip to the next event. They're pretty quick. Boxing, it goes about 20 to sometimes 40 minutes.
Oh.
And we're already talking where it's past midnight on the East Coast. And I say to myself, if boxing really cares about developing its next audience, I don't know how this actually does it. And here's the other thing, guys. Look at all the major sports in America, the NFL, NBA, baseball, whatever. None of their events start past midnight or their main event. It doesn't. Even Monday Night Football, which used to start at 9 p.m. Eastern time when I was a kid, Jimmy, me and you, I'm sure you remember that. They even moved that up 45 minutes because they said, you know what, it's a little bit too late. Let's get our games out there. So, and I've said to Top Rank, what is going on? And they're not really happy because they say, Steve, that's a ESPN decision, not ours. We don't disagree with you on that.
Huh. It's almost as if the UFC likes their fans. I don't know. That's the way it seems like to me. Now,
Dana White actually said when he was asked, he said, "Well, I pretty much make a lot of my decisions. I pretty much base it by I do the opposite of how boxing treats its fan base." Because he started off, he started off originally promoting boxing back in the day, back in Boston. That's what he started out doing before he, had the Zypher brothers buy UFC for him.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, one last thing. I don't want to hold up too much of your time, but for Lomachenko to win, which I think he can, I certainly wouldn't completely count him out. None of this download bullshit. I don't want to hear that he's downloading. I told that to Tim Bradley. I said, Tim, if I hear that out of your mouth, I am going to just rip the hell out of you. And I love Tim. I'm so sick of Lomachenko losing the first 5 rounds, and then he's downloading. No, he's not. He's losing. There's never been a case of a football team being down 28-0 in the first. Oh well, that team's just downloading. No, they're getting their ass kicked. If he wants to win this fight from round 1, he has to be the aggressive counterpuncher and close the gap and get his hands moving on Haney. And if he does not do that, that fight's over in the first half. If he's already down 5-1, it's over.
Would you be willing to make a prediction right now?
He's probably wait for the 3 knockdown rule.
Boy.
All right, if you're gonna wait for the 3 knockdown rule, I don't know if you already record. Yeah.
Well, it's already in the can. I give Loma a real shot because here's the thing: Haney should not be at 35 anymore. But in this era where you're weighing in 30 hours before the fight, which is ridiculous, you might as well just weigh him in on Tuesday, as far as I'm concerned. At this point, look, we've seen Joseph Diaz have success in the late rounds with straight left hands, right? And Joseph Diaz, I don't think is the athlete or the fighter or the puncher Loma is. Then you have Linares, actually buzzed him late, but then would not capitalize in the last 6 minutes. I think anyone counting out Loma, knowing that this is probably his last chance to really fulfill his destiny, is crazy, because I don't think Haney really belongs at 35. I think by the time he gets into the ring with everything he does to squeeze himself down to 35, he's probably bringing in about 80% of himself, and his legs do tend to fade against a certain caliber of guys. So I think it's a real fight. I'll just leave it at that, guys.
But I'll ask you this though, Steve. I want to ask you this because I've been rewatching the Ortiz fight, Lomachenko Ortiz, for a couple of times now. And I've shown the clips to Gonzalo and Jimmy behind the scenes to get their opinion. Would you agree that Ortiz does certain things better than Devin Haney?
Yes, he does. And he's more comfortable at the weight. And the other thing that Loma said to us, because I asked him a question at the press conference about 6 weeks ago, he said, guys, you're completely overlooking one thing. That was my sparring partner. He knew me as well as any opponent I've ever faced. So that's a factor. I mean, look, when you've gone tens and maybe hundreds of rounds with a guy, you start to really anticipate a guy's movements. Like, you know them very, very well. And that's what Loma said to us. Is like, there are things that I did to other guys that they had never seen before where this guy was anticipating it. And also, I do wonder, coming off that his participation in the war for his country, ring rust may have been a factor. And Ortiz is a big, tall, long guy. That's the other factor physically. He brings some things to the table. So, was it rust or is it corrosion? We're going to find out. But I think it is absolutely imperative that Loma win one of the first 2 rounds and really pressure, not from the 8th or 9th. I think it has to begin from round 1.
That's exactly what I said.
It's interesting
because he has to hit, go BDA.
No, go ahead. Go.
No, finish what you were saying.
I was going to mention, and when I was saying go, I wasn't rushing you, just because I got a million questions here. Loma's been adamant in the ESPN preview shows that this is his last chance. Did he tell you anything about that, or have you heard anything about him maybe saying something, saying it another way, that he's aware that this might be his last shot?
Yeah, so BDA, when we were there at the press conference, I got into more of the strategy, because I asked him, do you have to be more the fighter this fight? And he kind of danced around the question. But I did see the Blood, Sweat, and Tears that ESPN produced. It's up on YouTube on the Top Rank channel. And he basically said, yes, this is my last shot. I'm kind of at the end here. I'm not saying my career's over, but I'm much closer to the end than I am the beginning. I don't think there's any doubt, guys. He does understand that this could be his last real shot. So if he does not box or fight with a sense of urgency, I will be stunned, and I would be disappointed, because it's one of the first fights I'm actually going out to this year, because I just got some business things I got to take out there in Vegas. But it's going to be a fun night. It's a really good card. We get a good young Japanese champion in Junto Nakatani. I'm looking forward to watching him fight. I saw him at the gym last week, trained by Rudy Hernandez. He's a really, really skilled young champion. I'm not saying he's Inoue, but he's one of their better champions. And I'm also looking forward to seeing Abdullah Mason, who I think is one of the blue-chip prospects in the sport of boxing, guys. Look out for him. He's only 19 years old, out of Cleveland, Ohio. I think he's a future world champion, just a spectacular young talent.
Exactly. I agree 100% on Mason. I like Davis, too, Keyshawn Davis. I'd like to see that Frank fight, the 135. They got a good Twitter battle going.
Frank Martin?
When it comes to the low... Yeah, Frank Martin, exactly. Against Keyshawn Davis, but they've already poo-pooed it on Martin's side. I guess his trainer said, why would we want to do that? They're silly. Why would in Top Rank even want to make that fight? I personally think Keyshawn would take him out, but that's just my opinion. But when it comes to Loma, though, I 100% agree. I think that when it came to the Lopez, it was a combination of, he knew he had a shoulder injury. Obviously, he was under the knife within 48 hours at the end of the fight, so he was trying to keep his shoulder fresh. But also, you're dealing with somebody completely different when it comes to power, from Haney to Loma. I'm not obviously telling you anything you don't know, but I think he's going to be less apt. I think he was kind of waiting until some of the sting to come off of Lopez's punches. You don't have to worry about that going into the Haney fight, because it's a completely different puncher. And I've been saying from day one about the Ortiz thing, too. Training partner, three different camps even. I thought I read before somewhere, but I know it was many, many, many times they sparred, and you cannot underscore how important that is. You know their moves, you know their tendencies, their ticks that Haney's never seen. So yeah, I think a lot of people read into that Jermaine Ortiz, but again, there's always been since day one, since the day he got the title, beat one of the Russells, that they're just this blind hatred. They've been just waiting for this kid to mess up, and it is what it is.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, guys, look, I really appreciate you giving me the time. But anyway, guys, the 3 Knockdown rule will be back this week, starting on a weekly basis. I really appreciate your support as always.
Well, Gonzalo got a question for you, Steve. Could you answer? Could you hang on for one more second, if possible? Great.
He says, hello, Steve. He says he's been ducking me for 4 years. I don't like Loma, and Loma's a dirty fighter. What's the reason he says those things? Is he trying to psych himself up, or he's just an abrasive person?
Yeah,
that's his personality in general.
Look. I mean, you can argue all day. This is, again, Mauricio Suleiman, when he made that franchise belt, I hated that. I thought it was terrible, because one of the general principles in boxing should be that if you are a champion, you should have a mandatory challenger every year. Okay, that you otherwise don't want to face, but this guy's earned it. And once they did that franchise thing for then Canelo, and then it was Loma, you're giving these guys a backdoor out, and I hate that. But do I think he ducked him for 4 years? No, because I think that there was other bigger fish to fry at that point for Vasyl Lomachenko at that stage of his career. and it just did not make sense. And the other issue was, I believe, Haney at that point was with the Zone. So this is where the network and the promotional politics got involved, because I don't think Bob Arum wanted to risk that fight going to a purse bid. And I think that's when the Zone still had their $1 million or $1 billion war chest. They didn't want to lose Loma to another network. Now, fans don't really care about that, but that's exactly what happened. But I would surmise that this has been good for Haney, because he got to fight George Kambosos, who, all due respect, I don't think is the fighter Lomachenko is. And then by the time they finally fought, which will be next Saturday, he comes in as their financial aid side. He's probably getting more money than Loma is for this fight. So I don't think he really ducked him. I do think the business of boxing did get in the way, but just to circle back to my original point, if you never have a franchise belt, Loma would have had a choice right then and there. Do I ditch this WBC belt, or do I make my mandatory? So that's another thing with the sanctioning bodies, just really hurt themselves. Let these guys have to fight their number one contender. Bottom line.
Hey, Steve Kim, and is he setting the table? Is he setting the table by saying that Loma's dirty so he can be dirty himself?
Well, that's a great question. I think the referee's going to be key. And by the way, BDA, it was Carl Moretti of Top Rank that I asked earlier who the referee was. And he did say, most likely it will not be Tony Weeks. That referee is going to be really interesting, because Haney does not have an inside game, guys. That's another reason why Lomachenko has to be on the inside and mid-range and let his hands go. Haney's defense on the inside is to basically grapple and wrestle and hold. So this is where Loma has to not cooperate, as Teddy Atlas says, and just get his hands moving and punch his way out of clinches or through clinches and be the more active guy. And he cannot do that from 5-10 feet away. He's got to be right there on his chest, and he's got the short arms. So that alone dictates the fact he's got to be inside. But, there's going to be some gamesmanship, and how that referee handles that fight when it comes to infighting, I think is going to be vital to that fight.
Right. Let me ask you, that's a great point, but let me ask you this as well, though, because I've been trying to get this answer from the beginning. And do you have any inside information about what happened to Gary Antoine Russell last night? He was supposed to fight in the...
No, I really don't. I mean, that is interesting. I don't know what happened. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Gary Russell said, hey, this is one of 2 fights this year, right? And PBC, what, 2 fights? Get the fuck out of here. Forget it. You're going to fight in October now. That's probably what happened.
Wait a minute.
That's my theory.
I don't know. I think there's some shadow play going on, man, because there's no announcement.
Yeah.
I haven't been able
but anyway,
to find
I know that was a racist statement. I want to apologize to everyone that I offended. Not really.
If there's anything... and Steve, about when it comes to the Loma thing with Haney, right? The whole duck thing. But if you actually look at the timetable, which is so silly, when Loma won that WBC belt, it was within 2 weeks. He won it on the August 19th. 2 weeks later, Haney was named his mandatory, or as the number one contender. It wasn't mandated. At the time, he was in camp to fight Santiago or whoever his name is. So he was in camp when that fight, when he was named mandatory.
Yeah.
He then blew his shoulder out in that and had surgery.
Yeah.
Was on the shelf for 6 months. In the meantime, he signed to fight Lopez. So there was actually no time for that fight to even be made then. So that whole Haney's comments about he was ducking me, it's farcical. Yes, brother.
Jimmy, you pointed this out, that there is some revisionist history there with Haney. And I'm with you on that. Look. Again, they're using that whole franchise thing, and look, it is a factor. It did kind of factor into everything. But you're right. If you actually look at the timeline of events, I don't know when exactly you're going to make that fight. Then here's another thing, guys. Then you had the pandemic. That basically shut down everything. So nobody could fight. So when you're talking about 4 years, Devin has to be honest about this, there was like a whole year where you were very, very limited in the scope of fights you can make, and specifically in 2020 and a good part of 2021, when everyone had their own versions of the bubble, most promoters were only putting on fights between their own guys. They weren't shipping guys out. It rarely happened at an elite level. So, look, they're fighting now. Haney's making more money than he would have. It's a great opportunity. So, we just have to go out there and see what happens. It'll be a fun weekend, my first trip to Vegas in a while, and stuff like that. So anyway, guys, I look forward to listening to you guys on Sunday morning on my drive back to LA.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
Excellent.
we'll probably go. Yeah, that's probably the plan. It's Sunday, next Sunday in the evening here on the East Coast. But Steve, we know you're a busy guy, so thank you for calling in, man. Anybody else have
Thank
any?
you, Steve.
Unless anyone else has a.
Yeah, any other questions before I get out of here? And by the way, Jimmy, I'll be making probably some appearances on Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I know everyone out there is a big fan of that show.
Well, yeah,
I'm a huge fan of that show.
Yeah,
A lot of people watch the show. Podcast does. You whip it up on that. I'm telling you. You're also the fan favorite because I've heard Whitlock talk about that. You guys have a great rapport. You guys just you work well off each other. It's a great show. I like the whole cast actually, Delaney, everybody. But you bring it the most, man. The quick-wittedness. No, great thing. Everybody should check that out if you haven't seen it. Jason Whitlock, Fearless.
Yeah, all right. Well, anyway, hey, Jimmy, BDA, I'll send you my article tomorrow when it's out, and I think hopefully I won't bore you to death, but I'll continue to listen, guys. Really appreciate you guys.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Steve, have a good one. Be safe in Vegas next weekend, brother.
You too, brother. We'll be in touch. Thanks, Jimmy.
Okay, buddy. Peace.
All right. Thank you, Steve, for calling in. Yeah, that was the great Steve Kim calling in, breaking it down, giving us the inside scoop. By the way, you can check out Steve at somebody asked, I should have asked him this. Somebody asked if he has an Instagram. I don't know about Instagram, but
yes, he does. Sure. He does. He does have an Instagram, and he's been more active on that recently.
No kidding.
Than in the past. So, yeah, he's got Instagram. I don't know if he's still heavily on Facebook, but he was at one point. But, yeah, Instagram,
I'm gonna go ahead.
Twitter, and the Fearless on YouTube. I like to watch it on YouTube, but you can just catch it on the podcast, too.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that his Instagram is Steve Orale Kim. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's... He had to add the Orale. That's cultural appropriation right there, man. I don't like that. No, but yeah, okay, so he does have an Instagram. I think that, yeah, this got to be it. It says snack.com and all that. I didn't even know he had an Instagram. And you can check him out on the...
It's Steve Orale, like you said, Steve Orale Kim, which is hilarious in itself, on Instagram. So STEVORALE Kim.
Yeah, I got it on the screen here. I got it up on the screen for everybody.
Okay.
You can check it out. You can check out his Twitter as well. Steve Kim at Steve Kim 323, and he said himself 3 knockdown rule coming back on all the usual platforms. I wonder if there's still... What was the one they were using before?
It was Thriller, the last one.
Thriller,
through. Yeah, Thriller.
So I'm assuming they're going to be just back to the... maybe they're not... Thriller isn't doing that one anymore, but again, it's returning. They got an episode already in the bag, so we're all anxiously waiting for that one. So shout out to Steve Kim for that. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Don't forget to subscribe if you've yet to do so. And we still got phone calls here. Let's go to another phone call here. Thanks again for waiting here. 773, you're on the air. 773, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, when I was a kid, me and my friends, we went to the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. The Duran and Leonard, too. The one in New Orleans where Duran quit. And when that happened, let me tell you, nobody was fucking chuckling, man. People were throwing metal chairs. We had to get the fuck out of there in a hurry. So, like, what I'm
I remember that.
Yeah, if you pay to watch boxing, you're an average Joe, you work from Monday to Friday, and you look forward to boxing all week, and then you get some bullshit like a shit show. Mm-hmm. It's not funny, man. It's not ingredients to bake a fucking souffle or something like Mr. Kim was saying earlier. It's not. It's fucking bullshit, man. We pay for this shit.
That's an excellent point too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Steve Kim is a great guy. Don't get me wrong, but that funny. I'm not going to laugh that shit off. It feels like you're getting ripped off.
Well, listen. Let me make the point that, there is a difference between chilling back home and watching it, whereas a guy that goes to watch it, they got to pay. They probably got to pay for parking, depending on the venue. They got to pay up the wazoo for popcorn that they probably got the Woodstock 99 prices over there. They sell you $10. But at the same time, you got to give Steve Kim credit. He's done it all. He's walked the walk. I mean, he spent 20-something years going to the fights. and actually, taking the time out. Yeah.
I understand that he's a terrific writer and all that shit, but it's just
all that shit.
People like me, we don't take it like that. You know what I mean? When
I get you.
bullshit happens, it sucks. That's all I'm trying to say. It's like it's
no,
not,
I understand.
Ha ha ha! Look at this shit. It's not funny, man.
I guess
bullshit,
what he was, Caller. If I had to assume what it was, because that's what I got is that. And I've said this before on Second Renaissance too, is that when the world is so fucked up sometimes, the only thing you got is to laugh at it, because what are you going to do, get mad at it? I mean, obviously, like I said, if you paid for it and if you went there and you paid for the seats and all of a sudden they steal the result and they mar it, of course you're gonna complain. By the way, you mentioned Duran Leonard too. From what I understand, and this was a little bit before my day, when they used to have the closed circuit, sometimes they would do it at a gym and they would have it
that's what it
projected
was over there at the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. Yeah, it was closed circuit.
Yeah, there were fights in the closed circuit.
You wouldn't believe it.
That's what people have told me that, or I've heard it too from writers too, that there used to be fights at the closed circuit showings whenever something would go awry. So
shit.
What? Which one? So you were?
Yeah,
so you said you watched
like a metal chair whizzing by your head. That's how that shit was going. Holy fuck!
So you said you watched Leonard Duran 2 via the shortwave then? I mean, not shortwave. What am I calling it? Shortwave. Closed circuit. Closed circuit.
Closed circuit. That's what it was called. Yeah, closed circuit. It was cool until that fucking. I think I saw like Michael Dynamite Dokes get knocked the fuck out. If I remember correctly, it was. We're talking like decades ago, but my whole point was that like ingredients for a souffle. That's cool for a writer. That's how he makes his living, and he's a terrific writer, no question. But I'm just saying the average Joe don't play that shit. Fuck all that stuff. Oh, I also wanted to give credit to some fellow that was on your program earlier. He said that Spence was tapping out healthy and Boris Coders, or words to that effect. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, Butch is the one. King Butch is the one that said that. Yeah, eventually it's gonna be like Mel Gibson.
I laughed out loud. It was fucking funny as hell.
Well, listen, hey, there you go. See, you're laughing. The fighters aren't laughing, man. They're fighting once a year. They're not making money.
Yeah, I hear you.
Their careers are standing. I mean, listen,
poor guys. You guys got a great show.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. By the way, what's your name, man? So when you call back, I know.
My name is Aldo.
Aldo, all right, Aldo. Shout out to you, man. Yeah, you reminded me about the short circuits. I've heard those stories, man. All right, well, listen, Aldo, call back next time, right, man?
You said Aldo from Chicago? Is that where you're from?
Yeah. Are you from
Jesus,
Chicago?
be safe, bro.
Our White Sox suck this year. Holy fuck.
Yeah, Jimmy, he asked you if you're from Chicago.
Me, myself? Is that what he asked? I'm from Boston.
From Boston. Okay. All right. Well, you guys worry about the Red Sox. We got the shitty White Sox. Okay.
I love Chicago. It's actually one of my favorite cities in the country. It's like Boston just on steroids, but it used to be like all old neighborhoods, all ethnic neighborhoods, big sports town. It's just a sin that it's just going to fucking becoming a hellscape, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, well, listen, Aldo.
Yeah, we got a fucking crazy mayor now, but that's another story for another day. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Well, listen, thank you for your call, Aldo.
Take care.
You too, man. You take it easy out there in Chicagoland. Some people call it Chirac. All right, take it easy there, Aldo. Yeah, man, that's, geez, Luis, that's he brought, Jimmy, did you ever go to the closed circuit?
Oh, yeah, there's closed circuits in the 80s, man. That's what they used to have before pay-per-views. That's what they were called, closed circuits. You used to have to go places. Yep.
Well, there you go, man. I'd love to hear some stories about that. And the next one, actually, you know what? I got to go to the latrines. We got Gonzalo here as well, too, by the way, who's dropping by. If you guys want to touch on a little bit, too, about the Rolly fight, the debacle we had last night, and then I want to mention something about Errol Spence, the aforementioned Errol Spence. So you guys take over, please.
So Gonzalo, did you? I'm assuming you caught that Rolly fight last night. What did you think of that stoppage?
Man, a lot of words pop up to mind. Travesty, horrendous, unfair. I mean, the PBC is a mafia, and Tony Weeks is a member. And it's even worse. Yeah, I agree with Steve Kim, and I was thinking, okay, what other worst stoppage have I witnessed in my life? And it's hard to think of one. Maybe Marlon Wright when Librado Andrade fought. I didn't watch it live, but when I watched this, like the dude gave him like a 30 count, and Librado Andrade never became champion. But this dude got effed over. He got effed over, and also considering that Rolly, first time going up to 140, he gets an opportunity to fight for a title after coming off a loss. Then he's losing the fight, gets dropped, and they stop it when the other guy was winning. That makes it even worse, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really unfair.
Yeah, it's without a doubt, I can say unequivocally the worst stoppage I've ever seen in my lifetime. I have family who are referees. I've refereed, not fucking nothing pro, nothing like that, but I did some amateur shit because it really doesn't take much to get your referee patch. You know what I mean? It just wasn't for me. I didn't, the sweaty whole thing. Yeah, I also umpired baseball, and that was paid much better. Referees don't make shit, especially in the amateurs. Anyways, but you're taught, even in the amateurs, if you talk with the refs, there's not a culture of the fight, but there's an attitude of the fight. And that attitude of the fight was the old guy was winning. So that you take that into consideration. I know you're not supposed to, the health of the fighter, bullshit. When you got a guy in a championship fight, mind you, again, a belt is on the line. You afford that fighter who, especially that is up on the cards. There's only 30 seconds less left in the round. Unless this fucking dude is stretched out on his back or on his fucking ass and he can't stand up, you let him fight. You know what I'm saying? And there is a standing 8 count, isn't there, in Vegas? I can't remember the top of my head. But could he have just done a standing 8 count? I don't know. I guess Vegas there isn't one, I assume, because he would have done one just to give him another point. But you got to take in the, he knows who's winning the fight. And you don't rip that from somebody like that. Obviously, listen, if he didn't receive any money, but what he did, like Steve said, was working towards the future. He wanted the gigs. He's a part-time actor or a full-time actor. I don't know what else he does. But he needs to pay the bills. And he just let the PBC know, don't worry, I got your back.
This was a guy that was Tony Weeks, another one. He was the one dabbing it up with Andre Ward when he fought Kovalev in the rematch. Remember that questionable call when he stepped in and the low blows?
Yep.
And he awarded Kovalev the win? Yeah,
yep.
So he's got a track record too, man. I think
sure does.
The Cuban kid Morel, wasn't he the referee as well when he was hitting that guy Yorbisuli, or however, no disrespect, you pronounce that guy's name, to the back of the head? And he wouldn't do nothing about that. But here we go. Guy doesn't even land a clean punch on Barroso. And he jumps in.
And then he ran out of the ring. Too, he ran out of the ring. Like, he was out of there like a shot.
Yeah, man.
I was like, man, dude, that... Yeah, go ahead, B.
No, go ahead, man. Sorry.
I was just thinking, man, that they probably looking at Barroso. He's 40, but he looks like he's twice that age. He looks like a dead zombie, and you can't kill what's already dead. So I thought, man, I'm giving this dude a chance. Coming forward.
Yeah, Gonzalo said that in the Discord last night. He goes, you can't kill what's already dead. And then he puts a picture. Remember that movie there with Brad Pitt with the zombies? And then at the end, there's one zombie that's looking at him, but he can't detect him. And he's just, that one, yeah. But Gonzalo, I mean, what does that say about Rolly Romero, Gonzalo? That he's strolling. I understand he was in a 1-year layoff or close to a 1-year layoff, but is he supposed to be strolling with a 40-year-old guy who was never really that good to begin with?
It's because he wasn't that good to begin with either, BD. People started psyching him up a lot and like really building him up with the tank fight. And when you got a lot of time in your hands from one week to the other, and then you're putting this guy, like, because he faced Tank Davis, your brain will like search for things to make him relevant, and it's almost like you wanna believe that he's really that good. Then you start finding reasons to make that true when he's really not. He never was that guy. A lot of fighters get blown up out of proportion nowadays.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know the reason for that. I don't quite understand it, but it's happening. It's true.
Well, I think I get it.
That guy wasn't that good.
Well, can I say I've been catching some shit? Some people even tweet at me like, dude, you're kind of mean with Rolly. I have not been kind to this kid since day one. That's because right. I hate what he represents. He's garbage. Listen, he is garbage. He is a horrible boxer. He says dumbass things. I joke when I say small school bus, but I don't. He's not retired, but the kid is. Listen, if you ask that kid fucking 3 times 3 times 3, you would be there for half an hour. He would ask you to repeat the question 10 times, and it'd say, "Fuck this, man. Let's go to 7-Eleven." Listen, that kid is dumb.
Well, man, Jimmy. Okay, you tell me, man. See, you're the one that decided to go down this route. I was gonna say, and you guys tell me if this would have been over the line. I was gonna say that if he fights Subrin Matias, they could do it here in Canada because they just legalized euthanasia for mentally handicapped people. Would that have been too far? Like if I would have actually said it in a better delivery and all that, or is that okay?
I wish I would have tweeted it.
No, come on. No, wait a minute. No. See, you're going a little too far here.
In fact, I'm sure if Haymanites is listening, that sick prick will.
No, Haymanites, don't even get him started. Don't give him any ideas, man. Shout out to Haymanites. And by the way, did he ever? I haven't been on Twitter. I missed it for his Twitter feed. But did he actually ever end up putting that picture of him, the one he did with Tank Davis in the accent, the car accent?
Yes. Oh yeah, he did.
I'm gonna have to check that one out. But Gonzalo, to your point,
and PDA, yeah. I was just gonna mention also, they were trying to play up the personality. He doesn't even have that type of personality. Like, I don't know what's the word. Maybe gregarious, like really spontaneous. Something that I know. Steve Kim said Ricardo Mayorga, but also inside the ring, he doesn't have that attitude, that killer instinct. He looked like a scared child. If you look at his face. Look at him in the corner with even Bully. I mean, he's not really a good trainer, but look at Rolly Romero's expression. He looks like a scared little child, man, and he doesn't have that brazen, fighting instinct inside of the ring, even. So I mean, the dude in general, he has nothing to offer, dude.
Gonzalo, that's why before the Davis fight, we were saying that the attributes he has are strength, because he's pretty big for a lightweight. He does crack. And he's got relatively quick defenses, which with his unorthodox style, he makes it difficult. But he was in there against the guy, and that's all Tank Davis does nowadays is he hypnotizes you with the movement, hypnotizes you, boom, and hopes he catches you with a big shot. Now, but you mentioned something earlier about why would they do this with Rolly Romero? Why would they keep giving him these chances? And other people touched on it earlier as well. They said it's because it's all a setup for a Davis rematch. They don't have that many options with Tank Davis. They don't want to go outside. They were only willing to go outside of the plantation with Ryan Garcia. And they were only willing to do that if Ryan Garcia agreed to all their stipulations. So now what are they going to do?
I heard Demand did it too, by the way.
Of course he
did. For the money.
I got the quote. Wait, what?
Tank demanded it because he wanted the money. That was the whole fallout with Floyd too. A lot of it was they weren't giving him the money fights.
There you go, but he wasn't willing to fight Ryan Garcia without the stipulations.
Oh God, no, yeah, without the stipulations.
Yeah.
So that explains.
That would look like a bad fight. Yeah, sorry, BD. That would look like a bad fight if Tank Davis decided to take that. But guess what? He's got the what do you call it? The trophy. He's got the title to actually be considered a legitimate 140-pound champion. So I think they would make it too, BD.
Probably, yeah. They're gonna try. They're brazen. They've got no shame over there. They probably will try it. And before we continue here, let's go to a couple of other phone calls here. Let's go and don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. Let's go to 510 here. 510, you're on the air. 510. What's on your mind? No, he hung up. Let's go to 713. 713, you're on the air. 713. What's on your mind?
Hey, hello, long-time boxing fan. Just tuning into your show. Before the fight happened, I told another boxing fan that if Rolly doesn't win, he's a bum. And then, of course, they defended Rolly and Tank. But my point is, I've been talking to other boxing fans down here at 713 area code. They believe that even the PBC and the Mayweather camps, they don't go full throttle because I told them I think on the last fight I think Tank's gonna win because I noticed Tank doesn't. He's like slow from the first round to the sixth round. After that, he goes full throttle, and he's like, yeah, that's like a Mayweather thing, like where he coasts and all of a sudden they start punching harder, faster, and I even told him that I think Tank was the second coming of Pacquiao. Like he was heavy-handed, but I never saw the speed in him. But to me, yesterday's fight, the call wasn't. I don't think the call was necessary for 20 weeks. That's all I'm saying. And I'm starting to see why the PBC has a lot of hate because it's almost a setup that they're biased. They're working on King. To be honest with you. Hello?
Caller,
Hello?
that's, you're making some very good points there. And again, I just want to take this opportunity to piggyback off your comments to reiterate the fact that, look, we don't like complaining. I was taught, and I know Jimmy and Gonzalo probably the same thing, not to complain unless you have a resolution. But at this point, we are complaining about the PBC because there's no other choice. It's not because we like to. It's not because we got an axe to grind that somebody over there fucked us over. It's we're boxing fans, we're boxing consumers, and guess what? Their product ain't all that good. And hearing from you, it seems like you agree with that. Now, you said that boxing fans were telling you that who was next, the second coming, that Romero or Davis? I sort of got confused there.
No, Davis was like another version of Pacquiao, but I never saw his speed. Even now, I don't see his speed. Like, when Pacquiao was in his prime, he was, HBO would show like 6 to 8 punch combinations in landing, and Tank doesn't do all that. He's just like a heavy-handed fighter for his division.
But here's the problem. Listen, when Tank first came along, Carla, I was big on him too. After he beat, I liked the way he fought. I liked his hand speed, his aggression, his power. I didn't like the way he acted after it, but whatever. But coming out of there, I saw all kinds of like top end skills that could have made this kid an exciting fighter. But because of his lifestyle outside the ring, listen, there's no other sport. You can't be a professional hockey player, baseball player, football player, and drink and get fucked up and still perform good in any sport. And boxing is the most important because you're fucking fighting. So he doesn't live the lifestyle of a Floyd Mayweather. That's first and foremost. Floyd doesn't even drink. Doesn't do. He's got this kid uses his camps. Half his camp's a fat camp. So like he's just. And there's a reason he's avoided. He would if you fucking put it this way. Floyd used to threaten him anytime they had a public fallout. In fact, at one point, even called Top Rank to make the Lomachenko fight. Okay, all right, you don't want to do this? Okay. And he actually called Bob. Bob tweeted about it. Hey, got a call from Floyd Mayweather. Next Floyd, he's back over. Okay. Because, you don't want to do what I say, then we're going to have you fight fucking Lomachenko. So they're using it as a threat against him. So this kid, he's almost 30 now. He's closer to 30 than he is fucking 25. He is never going to fight, or until he loses his first loss, because they'll treat him different. Until that happens, he will never fight Shakur Stevenson, Lomachenko, any of those guys. He's going to be chewing up bums and just, I'm telling you right now, it's Isaac Cruz or Rolly. That's going to be who he's fighting next. Make no mistake about it.
Oh, I wish that was a mistake.
Okay. Okay, I see your point.
Caller, anything else you want to say before we move on?
I'll let you guys be. I'm out.
All right. Thank you for your call.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for calling in. Catch you on the next one, man.
Call back.
Yeah, very enlightening that he mentioned that some people thought that Tank Davis was going to be, and like he said, Pacquiao was going after people, combo after combo. This guy, with the limited opposition he's fighting, he's just dancing around, hypnotizing them, and hoping for the best. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 510 is calling back, I think. Yeah, 510, can you hear me? You're on the air. 510, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, Jimmy? What's up, Gonzalo? What's up, BDA?
What's up, buddy?
I saw the fight. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, man.
All right, cool. Yeah, for some reason, like I said, it just hanged me up. I don't know why, but overall, the fight yesterday, it was complete dog shit. It's just like, man, I don't know what the fuck
what are they doing out there, man? It's like they're not even. I mean, basically, what they're pretty much what a lot of I guess boxing companies are doing or trying to do is just like, it's pretty clear like they want to just like put minimal effort and get a lot of money out of it because regardless, that fan base enjoys those sort of fights. But yesterday it was a bit of a slip up. But I mean, what are you gonna do? I don't expect much from Romero or any of the whole PBC side, man. But overall, yeah, terrible fight, terrible card. I'm not, as I mentioned before, I'm not necessarily that picky when it comes to a lot of things, but for sure, if I'm gonna watch boxing, there's only there's only a handful of guys out there that I'll for sure buy, like that I'll waste my money on, or or actually buy their fight and get a good fight at least. With like people like Bivol, Inoue, Better BF, Lomachenko. Those are the guys that I watch and I pay for them. So it's as simple as that. I mean, honestly, I really don't know what could be the solution to it, but obviously they're going to keep on doing this shit until eventually the wheels fall off, because regardless of like what's going to end up happening, clearly like whoever's in that business model, like the guys at the bottom are going to, they're going to be the ones that ended up buying the bullet while Heyman just kind of runs off and, fucks off with everybody's money. So, yeah, man, the thing that bothers me, I made a comment beforehand, my other last call where I mentioned that, boxing is difficult for me to watch, but it's just like because of this type of shit, just like look, when I was going up watching boxing, I never thought boxing, and actually a lot of things in my life, I never thought they would have gone this shit, because there's a lot of things that I used to enjoy watching or doing, and now it's like the quality just complete fucking dog shit, man. It's like it's not good. It's like what's going on, but and yeah, that's because I'm of the opinion, right, that I would have wanted to see.
No, you're breaking up, caller. You're breaking up. You're breaking up. I can't hear you, man, anymore. But if you can't hear me, yeah, I can hear you now. Yes. So yeah, you were saying it's dog shit now. The product's dog shit. You're dissatisfied. I gotta tell you, you're speaking from the heart, caller. You're speaking from the heart, and I don't think anybody will disagree with you, because look, the PBC, they're the worst, but ESPN, the Zone, they got issues of their own. But at least they're not fucked up, or fucking up as bad. By the way, you're not choking, are you? You can still talk. Caller.
Say that again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because somebody said he sounds like he's choking, but no, you're good. You're good. Okay. But yeah, caller, finish your point, please.
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Well, my point was gonna say, like, at least in because I also watch MMA, right? And early on in the UFC, you see the progression of the evolution of the styles. Like before, fighters were a lot more one-dimensional, but now you see a lot of the guys that are, wrestling, for example, is like a pretty big base and it's fairly dominant in MMA still. But you still see an evolution of fighters, like where these new guys know everything. Back then, one guy would dominate, but he only knew how to do one thing, like just boxing or just wrestling. But I don't see that in boxing. That's the thing that bothers me, because obviously, boxing is not. There's not a lot of. It's like very complicated, but with a few set. You have a lot less tools than you do in MMA, because in MMA you got to worry about other factors. But I would have thought we would have saw that evolution now. But it's just like it's almost going in like in a regression almost. It's like certain guys are still fucking good, and then the rest of them are just like, but And that's the thing. Like it shouldn't be this way, and that's why I'm so critical of boxing, because I'm of the opinion we should have saw the next evolution already. Better boxers, better nutrition plans for the guys. We should already see by now, like longer careers and like just more exciting fights. But we're not seeing that, and at the end of the day, it is what it is. But yeah, ultimately, I'm dissatisfied. Fuck all the guys that are doing this to the sport, and that's pretty much it, man.
Hey, who is this, by the way? Who is this?
It's Mr. Booty.
Mr. Booty Juice. Okay, yeah, Mr. Booty Juice. Yeah, the man with the name. That's who it is. Oh, listen, Mr. Booty Juice, you're preaching to the choir. I think we all agree with what you're saying, and it's a shame, because yes, indeed, the business seems to be regressing. The business of boxing seems to be regressing. The opportunities are shrinking, and this ain't good for us people who like this great sport. But listen, Mr. Booty Juice, shout out to you, man, and we'll catch you on the next one, all right, man? Take it easy out there.
Yeah, take care, man.
You too, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, some people were being freaked out, by the way, with the phone call, because the quality started sounding like this. So yeah, it was. If you're doing, I know there's people who do drugs while they listen to this show, so that must have freaked them out a little bit.
Yeah, you said BDA. You said the opportunities are shrinking. Yeah, tell that to Barroso. No, it's back to the caravan line.
It's back to the jungle for him to join the guerrillas. He's gonna have to.
Or the caravan line with the Venezuelans, man.
Okay, the caravan. Yeah.
Booty Juice says it's a little bit of a slip up, man. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, but yeah, those slip ups cost people's careers and lives.
Mm-hmm.
Man, look what a little slip up will do to an elderly person. I'm kind of like on the younger side, and when I got here to the Philippines, I slipped in the shower and almost killed myself. Never been the same. Little slip ups cost people's lives, and it's something that you can't just sweep under the rug. Yes, you can, but in the end of the day, Barroso will never have another opportunity probably to feed his family.
What do they say in the military when they miss a shot? Like aim small, miss big, or what's it called?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean, but I can't quite think of it right now.
Aim small, miss small.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, okay, I was fucking it up. No, but it's true, man. It's Mr. Buttigieg made a great point. Is the opportunities are shrinking, and I mean that's a boxing fan calling in, telling us, look, the dissatisfaction is real. It's not imagined. It's not people complaining for the sake of complaining. It's there. And it's been there for the people that have been able to see it for a while now. It didn't just start yesterday with yesterday's shit card. So it's a little disconcerting. That's for sure. I tell you what else is disconcerting. We still got a long way to go here before we finish this. When the caller Aldo, who called in about about the fights, the short circuit fights, and it's not fun when you pay for a fight and then they ended early. It's true though. It's bad decisions hurt fighters too, because then we got stupid fans. Let's just say what they are. When they call in and they go, well, this guy's overrated because he lost this fight and he lost that fight. And you go, well, wait a minute, this fight was a robbery. And they go, that's not what the record says. It's like, well, fuckers, what about context? You know what I mean? But for them, a loss is a loss. So a robbery is hurting a fighter's stock, unfortunately. But like I said, sometimes... Yeah.
But what they will do, BDA, what they will do is they'll make another fight with Rolando Romero where he fights an average fighter, but it's actually like it's for a title defense. And once he beats that dude fair and square, all that will go away. He's legitimate now, and people won't remember.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Where it hurts is the box rec heroes, the guys a couple of years down the line who, just started following boxing, but they'll say, oh, well, he lost. And they have no idea about any context about the fight.
Exactly, Jimmy. Yeah, exactly. They look at it and they go, well, he's got 3 losses. He must suck. It's like, they look at, you know what I was going to say, Salido. Oh, he sucked. Like, have you actually seen his fight? A lot of those losses were very close or downright robberies. Well, actually, maybe I'm confusing him with Glencoff Johnson. Glencoff Johnson was the one that had more robberies than, but the point is, it's box rec warriors. They don't help the cause.
He lost like 7 fights early in his career. Then he went on like a 40-something fight, almost 50 fights without. He lost like 4 of them, but he didn't get stopped, and it was against world-class competition. But he won like almost damn near all of those, except for like the world-class fighters of his generation. And
Gonzalo, wasn't he 16 when he
and beat a lot of world-class fighters too?
Gonzalo, wasn't he 16 when he turned pro, I think? Or he was a teenager, I think.
Yeah, most likely, because the amateur program in Mexico, it sucks. There's no, they don't give you no scholarships. You don't even have money for the buses to move around. So you got to go pro.
Exactly. All right, let's go to another phone call here. We got 646 on the line. 646, you're on the air. 646, what's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I just want to touch on that. Where you guys are talking about like these fans that they just look at box rec. Like if you could really just look at like someone like Tank, he could have a loss. Rolly's supposed to have 3 losses because he should have lost to Jackson Marinas. So it's like this undefeated shit. It's not real. Any of these fighters can have 3 to 4 losses depending on who they fight. Haney would lose if he would fight Shakur or go up and fight Prograis. Just fight the right person, you'll lose. It's like. I don't know, it's just like the IQ of these boxing fans. This is why things like, the Barroso things happen. These guys are going to forget about it 2 weeks later. sport's like it's basically WWE at this point.
I mean, the comparison stinks because it's true. Yeah, no, that comparison, it's unfortunate that the comparison is sticking now because it's true. And these fans, look, you got to blame that subsection of fans, particularly the LDBC. I know people go, whoa, why are you always talking about the LDBC? First of all, we're not always talking about them, but are you really going to tell me they're not a problem? Are you telling me they're helping boxing? You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's you're absolutely on the money, caller.
Yeah, they just go, you try to debate these guys, and they go, he got 2 losses. He's a bum. He's overrated. I'm like, dude. Lomachenko fought Gary Russell, his 3rd fight? Gary Russell Jr.? Like, no other American fighter was moved like that. Like, it's ridiculous. But I did want to bring up one thing. Like, I don't know if you guys, did you guys happen to see Paulie Malinagi's reaction to that robbery?
I heard that somebody said that he tweeted something, but I'm not aware exactly. What did he say, caller?
Okay, so he gave like a backstory on this dude, and he basically said like one of these fights, like this Ismail, right? Like he was crying, right? And like the reason he was crying was because like you know how South America, like crime, pretty crazy over there. This dude's from Venezuela, and his wife got kidnapped and murdered on the same day that he was in a fight. He was crying, and I'm like. This is the type of shit that happens, and people get robbed, and this opportunity could have like set this guy for life. Imagine he would have won, and got a Tank Davis fight, would have got paid, and they stopped the fight when he lands on Rolly and goes coming forward, and they stop the fight. I've never seen something like that in my life.
It's true. He's landing a shot, and he stops the. Yeah, and again, it's very telling, caller. Go ahead, Jimmy. Yeah.
No, did he say that this kid Barroso's wife was kidnapped and murdered?
Apparently, yeah. That's what Paulie said.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Oh, wow. All right. Sorry to interrupt, media. Finish me. That's crazy shit.
Yeah, go ahead, caller. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. All right. That's all I wanted to say. Great show, like always.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you for letting us know, man. And call back next time.
Bye.
Yeah, it's a shame for Barroso because, like I keep saying, he's one of those guys that, a title would have helped him get a payday. Maybe a defense back home. You know, they can market it as a champion. And maybe you never know. Maybe some young gun, they feed him to some young gun and he defends his title, he loses it, but at least he gets 2. You know, at the most, if they milk it right, he could have gotten 2 paydays, but instead he goes back home empty-handed to a dead wife. So, I mean... That's Tony Weeks has blood on his hands. Let's just.
I know, and then you also got to think, BD, that like, oh man, okay, so it's kind of iffy. If we wait a little bit and give him another opportunity, the dude's gonna fall apart, dude. He looks messed up.
He looks like he's 65 years old.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the phone call, man, real quick here. Let's go to 773. 773, you're on the air. 773, what's on your mind?
What's up? What's up?
What's up?
It's K-Dog.
Oh, it's Kevin from Chicago. Shout
My
out
name
to
is
K-Dog.
K-Dog.
What's up, man? Yeah, what's up, K-Dog?
What's up? I call and talk about the Rolly Romero. His name is Rolly. Rolly. Yeah, when I first saw this face-off, I was like, they're feeding him a porn. This should be illegal. What a shame. And the guy went in there and put up a fight, man. He went up there and scrapped. He scrapped fuck for good. Winning. And my question to y'all, I'm going to say y'all, not you guys. My question to y'all is, is there any way it was an honest mistake? Is it possible that it was an honest mistake? Or is it
Good question.
Trying to favor the A side, so to say?
That is an excellent question. I'll defer to the panel. Guys, what do you think? Is it possible Tony Weeks made a mistake?
Absolutely not. No possibility to be a mistake.
No, I'll tell you why. Because he was already jumping at the bit to stop it. He was already waiting, like in his mind, he already had it set. For the first sign of that, I can't go in there and do that. I'm gonna. So he was chomping at the bit to do that, and you can't do that in boxing. You got to let it play out, and you got to give the other dude an opportunity, even when he's in trouble.
K-Dog, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's the way I see it too. My question is, why? I mean, is Rolly this big star? Is this dude really some big attraction that they need to be corrupt about it?
No.
Give him the victory?
Kevin, what it is, honestly, dude, what it is, he's dumb. And he'll do whatever they tell him to do.
Come on.
Without question. I'm just being honest, dude. That kid is dumb. Listen, they would tell him to go fucking pick the gum off the bottom of the chairs, and he would do it. It'd take him 10 minutes before he realized he was being fucked with. I'm telling you, dude. This fucking kid, I'm telling you, he spends all day trying to figure out where the lint in his pocket comes from. That's like the highlight of this kid's fucking brain power. I'm telling you, dude. Listen to this kid talk. He's a fucking meathead. And when it comes to that referee, on top of, listen, he knows the fucking spirit of the fight. He knows the old timer with scoliosis, who's probably literally 57, is winning the fight. Okay, but he also knows that he needs a gig. All right, because he's a part-time fucking thing. Who knows? Maybe he's got child support. He needs to know what he's doing the next couple of months. So he just assured himself a PBC event, but he fucked up so bad. His name right now it's junk in the box. So it's gonna be hard. Yeah. So they know. Referees know. That's supposed to come into consideration. You don't take. This wasn't just a fucking club fight. This was for a world title. You don't take it. You don't literally rip fucking victory from the jaws or whatever it is, from the jaws of defeat. I mean, that was insane what he did.
K-Dog, anything else you want to say?
I still don't get it though. Is he a draw though? Like you say he's dumb, will do what they tell him, but like, I mean,
no, it's not.
He'll just they can make money off him. He'll
no, they had to paper the place last night, dude. They were fighting in a shoebox, and they had to paper the place. They gave away hundreds of tickets for like a fucking 3,500 seat auditorium. So that's in his own hometown. You know what I mean?
By the way,
there's only so many fucking people who do Meals on Wheels and no special need kids.
Now listen, I mean, it's this.
All right, that was too much.
We're gonna get shut down. No, I'm kidding. Keep going. In fact, I'm gonna egg
Jimmy's
you
on
on.
Fire, baby.
I'm gonna egg Jimmy on to go even further.
He spits it hot. He's not
spits it
afraid
hot.
to tell like it is, Jim. I'll tell you what.
Hey, K-Dog, because you're more of a, you're more. Hold on, before you go, because you're more of an, and I think you're more of an MMA fan. Do things like what happened last night just essentially confirm why you're no longer that big a boxing fan, or?
Pretty much. Honestly, I'm not too big of a UFC fan as much as I was this last year or so. I haven't been following it as much. Only boxing fights I watch are the big ones, like the Davis versus Garcia fight I watched, and I watched some other big fight. I watched the Lomachenko fight this weekend, or whenever that is. It's coming up, ain't it?
Lomachenko Haney, or actually Haney Lomachenko. Yes, that's coming up next week.
Yeah. I haven't been following too much UFC, but the thing is with the stoppages and the corruption is the problem. We have the same problem with the judges, but there's a lot more variables, so it's easier to cover up. It's easier. Well, they saw this, and you got to see it like that. Like with boxing, it's a lot more straightforward, so it's like easier to detect, easier to call out the corruption. But there's a little bit of that in UFC, in MMA, but not nearly as bad in boxing. And yeah, nothing will happen. It'll be business as usual. I don't think anything's going to come of it. I mean, has anybody even made a statement, like the commission or anything like that?
Yeah, that I have very, very little faith in that. No, first of all, to answer your question, no, they have not. And even if they had, it makes no difference, man. Very little difference. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about that, or I'm not too expectant of anything from that end. Well, listen, K-Dog, we gotta move on, man. But thank you for your call, and stay safe out there, right, man? Take it easy out there.
Yeah, man, that's the thing with me. I'm not even calling in too much talk boxing. Boxing, I just like to call and shoot the shit with y'all boys. That's what I call it for. Just call and shoot the shit.
There you go,
Here
man.
you go, Kevin.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
All right. Appreciate it, Kevin.
Take it easy, Kevin.
I want to
And
say...
I'm going to say real quick, too, I haven't even heard anything about what Canelo did, what that pay-per-view did. I didn't buy it. So
Yeah,
I haven't even heard, so I don't even know what the fuck he was talking about.
Okay, I was listening to Ring IQ the other day, and somebody mentioned that the numbers... Because apparently Rick Glazier said that he did 200,000 pay-per-view buys. But then Ring IQ said, wait a minute. And you've told me this before,
that.
too,
United
Jimmy.
States, yeah.
But you've told me this too before, the fact that how does Rick Glazier get the numbers? He gets them from an entertainment lawyer who gets them from the cable companies because he represents them or whatever. The Zone, though, like Ring IQ said, it's a different model. It's not a
Completely
TV network.
different.
It's an app. Yeah, so it's different from that end. And again, even if, because I know people are going to say, Canelo's not the face of boxing. First of all, you don't have to be that big to be the face of boxing. You could just be the biggest boxer out there and be doing 500,000 and everyone else just 100,000 pay-per-view buys and you still remain the face of boxing. That's number one. Number two, he's the face of boxing because he's got a fucking huge audience in Mexico. From what I heard, he did millions over there of views. So he's got multiple markets. That's why he's the face of boxing. Whereas some other guys, they're just got one market and that's it. So we'll see what happens, man. Because again, unless we hear it from the Zone, same thing with Showtime. Unless we hear it from them, everything else is speculation. What do you think?
And I trust Rick's numbers. I believe that around 200,000, maybe they did through what he learned, something to do with the states. But the Zone, I know Eddie's put out the numbers before, so I'd be hard pressed to see here that it only did 200,000. I don't
listen,
think that would
he's
be
not
right.
dependent. Yeah, but the thing about Canelo is he's not dependent on one market, which is the USA. I mean, most people, maybe he was 200,000 pay-per-view buys. I guess like an unknown British guy. Guess what? He still did a shitload of views in Mexico. So
as I'm talking to you, I'm on Twitter checking things out, and to me, it's always the hypocrisy that just stares so fucking deep into your eyes. The same knuckleheads who fucking trashed Rick when because Rick was like, no, Davis fucking Garcia didn't do over 1 million. It didn't even do it did somewhere around 900,000 or 920, but it's still not over the million. And everybody, fuck you, Rick. But they always say fuck you, Rick, no matter what he says. When he said that, Ortiz, no matter what it was, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But all of a sudden, they were the fucking ones retweeting Rick and told you. It's like, holy shit, I'm looking at it right now. No shame, these motherfuckers.
I know, man. I mean, listen, I'm unsurprised. I am Jack's total lack of surprise. But I'll just say this. Look, I don't give a shit who's the face of boxing, really, ultimately. I'm not getting paid by Canelo. I'm not getting money from Tank Davis. If they were paying me, you know what I would do? Because I'm a sneaky fuck. I would take their money and then go against them just to show them the error of their ways for trying to buy.
I'm getting a little taste. I'm getting a little taste from Canelo, so fuck off.
There you go. No, but seriously, I don't give a shit, but it is what it is. Canelo's still the face of boxing. And then it's going to be somebody else. Hey, maybe it'll be an Afro-Anglo next. And then you can be happy. Ultimately, I don't give a shit. This is the theme of today's show. I don't give a fuck who the face of boxing is. As long as we get the best fights possible, Mr. BD is a happy camper. And may I also say, shout out to, I forgot to read a couple of super chats here. Thank goodness the YouTube feature that allows you to go back to see the super chats is working again. Shout out to Joker. Joker, if you're still listening, I haven't forgotten about you. Shout out to Joker who gave a contribution with the super chat. He says, Mr. BDA, can you call the WBA, Showtime, and the Boxing Commission, bring them on the show and demand some answers? Secondly, bring Barroso in for an interview to discuss the robbery. It would make for a great show. Thumbs up. Well, Joker, thank you for your contribution. First of all, got no time to deal with the vampires and the shysters from the WBA and Showtime because they're just going to give you the runaround, essentially. I remember Gonzalo, a little bit of an inside scoop here for everybody. Gonzalo once contacted... Gonzalo, what was the name of that judge from the Canelo-Golovkin fight, the first one? Trella? Was it Don Trella?
Don Trella, yes.
Yeah, Don Trella. Gonzalo contacted the guy and he said, hey, you want to do an interview for the show? And guess what the guy said? He said, sure, email me the questions and I'll get back to you. It's like, what the fuck? Hey, this ain't the New York Times where we give you the questions in advance, fucker. I don't think we ever got back to him. So yeah, I got no interest in talking to these shysters from Showtime, the WBA.
Barroso will be hard because if we do an early show, I mean, they usually, guys his age usually go grab dinner around 4:30.
Come on.
Sorry, come on.
Hey, no,
I mean,
Jimmy,
God
maybe
bless him, dude. Good for him. You know what I mean? Dude ain't 40, but which just gives him even that much more credit and also tells you how bad. And on top of that, imagine if he fucking beat him, right? The old dude beat fucking the guy that was up until Garcia Tank's biggest pay-per-view. The guy who tanked Davis. Now, just imagine fucking Canelo Alvarez losing rounds to somebody like that. Wrap your head around that.
They had to do it. Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, they had to fucking rob poor Barroso's. And like Gonzalo said, we're never going to hear about this again. After today, it's going to disappear a little bit, and then boom, people are going to forget about it. I tell you who's not going to forget about it. Me.
Now, picture me that kid, right? That fucking poor kid. He's not American, right? He's not even from this country. And you know what he went through with his wife, and they're like, he's there, and he's got his opportunity at that age. He's probably got kids, and they fucking rob him like he's nothing.
Jimmy,
fucking
I don't think it would
maggots.
be too much of. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that Tony Weeks essentially murdered his wife a second time. That's essentially what he did.
I don't think it's hyperbole. I think he probably cut her fucking head off.
That's right. He stabbed her in the heart and then twisted the knife. That's what he, and then sexually assaulted her afterwards. That's what he did. I think I already read the Functopus. Yeah, the Functopus says, who will be the ref next week? And you should make a poll. Yeah, I read that one. Shout out to John Tufine. Great name, by the way. He says, never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by stupidity. I don't fully agree with that, John Tufine. I think that's how they get you.
I live by that in my regular life. Like, I do attribute the same thing with when people go deep in conspiracies. I'm like, it's not always conspiracies. It's not always that, you know what I mean? But not with this. A referee of his who's been refereed as long as he has, he's got like 300 championship fights under his belt. He knows the fucking deal. Never mind, he has a track record of letting fights go in like that bloodfest that he could have stopped. So, nah, this dude is a fucking hatchet job.
Hopefully it's Thomas Taylor, Jimmy. I've noticed that he's a real good referee. He's the guy that refereed Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia. He refereed this weekend as well.
Is
He's
he
been
the guy
on a
that
roll,
looks like
in my opinion.
Is he the guy that looks like a cop?
Right.
I think so.
Is he the one that took a point away from Mike Sayo for all that clinching against? Yeah, that's him. Yeah, I think that's him. This dude.
Look at Jack Reese. Jack Reese let that Canadian boy get his fucking brain scrambled.
Yeah, good. That's what I want to see. I want to see somebody. I want to see somebody fall until he can no longer get up, until he can no longer rise. That's what I want to see. Hey, by the way, fellas, real quick, because we got phone calls going here, and the phone lines are almost closed. 323, you're on the air. 323, what's in your mind?
That's LA.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Don Madrasos.
Yep.
No, Don Madrasos. What's up, man?
It was really hard to follow Steve Kim there. I don't know, so I had to go. But yeah, man, that fight was something else yesterday. We got to give credit to Mr. Al Heyman for unearthing a 4,000-year-old mummy and calling him into action. That guy performed, and he fought his heart out.
Don Madrasos, did we lose you?
Hello?
Yeah, you still okay? You still
No,
here?
they'll
Still
go
here.
here.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear you.
Okay, go ahead, man.
No, I'm still here. No, well, I was just saying that fight was fight.
Is it me or is he cutting off?
And I thought he had some pretty good game. He was landing pretty simple shots.
He's cutting off.
Just that gutter shot to the belly, and he kept touching him in the head, body, and he was really outworking that kid. I mean, that Gervonta Davis win didn't age very well, obviously, but man, I think somebody alluded to that earlier by saying that the belts were going to stay with the PBC. I think this belt's going to stay with the PBC for sure for a long time. You might see a rotation of Isaac Cruz and Romero and Tank, and maybe they might line up that Ryan Garcia fight for 140 later on down the road for big money. But
exactly,
I mean, it's a business. It seems like a business strategy.
Well, they're going to give it to Tank. They're going to give it to Tank. I almost guarantee, because they want him. Because right now he's a pretend, like if that dude tweets out, a pretend 3-division champion, because he's got Reggie belts, but this is a real one. So he go up there like he won out of the other two. One was a vacant belt. And he fought an absolute no hoper for that. Now he'll fight another no hoper for pretty much a vacant belt. So now he'll be a legitimate, at least 2-division champion by belt standards, instead of a fake 3-division.
And by the way, Don Madrazos.
Yeah, but this whole thing's orchestrated, and it's just blatant business. I mean, someone brought up the issue of race, and I think everybody, a lot of your callers are talking about the race thing, and I just think it's just a big business thing, and this is turning into entertainment for us. And I have to agree with Stephen Kim. I'm still going to watch. Although I'm not taking a lot of the PBC stuff very seriously at all anymore, but I'm still going to watch. I watched both fights last night. I watched pretty much every fight there was yesterday, and I'm not going to stop watching fights. I'm going to keep watching fights. Like I said it before, gentlemen, we are in an abusive relationship. They fuck us. They take our money, and we're still giving them more, and that's where we're at. We're fucking boxing fans. We're the 90 seconds. They're robbing us blind. They robbed the fucking mummy last night. I felt so bad for the guy.
The mummy.
That was terrible. And I was hoping you guys were going to go live last night, because I was livid. I really wanted to shit on Rolly, but that picture of Tony Weeks. He can always get a job as a tampon. Wait
a minute. Now that's going too far, I think, there, Don Madrazos. That's going too far, man. But listen, hey, before the phone lines close, I got to get to the last caller here. But we appreciate your call, and call back again next time, all right, man?
All right, until the next Mummy Show, guys. Take care.
All right, take it easy, man. Yeah, he keeps calling.
Motet.
Shout out to Don Madrazos for calling in. Let's go to the last call of the night before we got 30 seconds before he closes. 214, you're in the air. 214, what's on your mind?
¿Qué onda? What's up, BDA? ¿Qué pues, Gonzalo? What's up, Jimmy?
Dímelo, ¿qué pasó, man? Who is this, by the way?
Salud. ¿Cómo están? It's Ace 144, baby. ¿Cómo están?
Muy bien.
10 seconds.
Yeah, man, I do want to talk about the fight, man. I seen that Rolly Romero versus that guy from Tales from the Crypts. You ever watched that show?
Yeah, the Crypt Keeper, yeah. With the laugh there, yeah.
Yeah, Tales from the Crypts, like one man said, wait, man, hey. Hey, he was giving Rolly Romero trouble all night, man, with the same left hand. He was jabbing to the body, and he was coming with the left hand down the pipe, and I couldn't believe that Rolly Cody couldn't adjust, man. I'm like, damn. And that fight, he reminded me kind of Ryan Garcia, because he always had his chin up in the air, and they fight kind of the same way if you really look at it, stand straight up and just walking around the ring, no footwork, no nothing.
Hey, caller, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because Don Madrazos brought that up. Don Madrazos brought that up in the last call. He said he was just throwing left to the body, and then he would throw one upstairs and he would land. It's like, wouldn't you expect a guy like Rolly Romero to see that coming?
Ese güey no tiene pinche cerebro para pensar que la misma chingadera está tirando, man. No tiene... ¿Cómo se dice? Tiene mente de cacahuate, man. No mente de coco.
Es un retrasado, man. Es un retrasado. That's all you gotta say. Pinche retrasado. But that's why Jimmy keeps... Listen, Jimmy's not kidding when he says this guy's... he rides a short bus. He has a helmet on every time he gets in the vehicle. He's not that smart. That's why when people said...
Walks around with a hockey helmet on, man. I'm telling you.
Come on now, wait a minute. See, now I'm getting a little uncomfortable here. No, but caller, were you at least entertained by that facet of by that aspect of the fight? The fact that this 45-year-old guy was out boxing a much younger foe.
Man,
is he drowned?
Like Jimmy said, man, I'm not even surprised. Like it's like you see the sequence, the same sequence, jab to the body, and then come up with the left hand down the straight pipe. Like, how you retarded short buzz, helmet wearing ass head, not see that? Like, just count the punches. Like, just like move away. Just goddamn, like you couldn't even get that. He's retarded, man. And roly poly, man, he gotta hang him up. You know what I'm saying? Go back to judo. Or shit, do whatever go back to judo, karate, what he was doing, but boxing in his sport, man.
You know what?
He couldn't count the sequence.
Ace, you reminded me of something here. And this is why I really disliked Rolly Romero and his whole team, is because when they robbed, they didn't rob him, but when that robbery took place against Jackson Marinas and Bullet, Romero's trainer, shouted at Jackson Marinas' team as they were walking out in disgust. He shouted at them condescendingly, back to the drawing board. And I'm thinking, this fucker, this is the second time his team gets a gift. They should go back to the drawing board now. Shouldn't they, caller? Like, shouldn't this fucking Bullet shouldn't Romero fire Bullet and get a real trainer?
Hey, BDA, como te dice tu mamá, ese Bullet es un vagabundo. Un pinche vagabundo. You seen Bullet, man, he was yelling at that lady, calling her the B word, the bitch and this and that. Who crees? After the fight, they were all booing him. Man, Bullet needs to hang it up as a trainer. He needs to go home, get a 9 to 5, get a trade. It's not too late, Bullet.
Ace, would it be too much? Would it be too much of a stretch to say that he should live up to his name and put a bullet in his head and just end it? Is that going too far?
You said it best. No, it's not too far.
No,
it's not too far.
I didn't say it. I asked the question. Is that going too far? Well, listen, caller, Ace, we got to move on, man. We got to move on. We're almost at the end of the show, but thank you for your call and call back next time, right, man?
Hey, BDA, saludes a Gonzalo. Shout out to Jimmy. A ti también, BDA.
Thank you.
Que le pases bien, eh?
Hasta la próxima, man. Take it easy out there. All right, that caller. Listen, I didn't say the thing about him.
He was funny.
Yeah, I didn't say that thing about the Bullet. I asked, would that be going too far? What else was I going to say? Yeah, but guys, isn't that a little disconcerting or worrisome for Rolly Romero? The fact that he kept trying to use a shoulder roll, which is notoriously ineffective against a southpaw. And he was just trying to do the counter right hand, counter right hand, roll, counter right hand. I mean, come on, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, he just didn't know he has no skill. He has no skill. There's no setting traps. He's just sitting there with his front arm down, and he's waiting to fucking throw that right hand. That's all he's doing. I mean, he smothers his work. He has no outside game. He has no jab. I mean, again, I can't stress this enough. That motherfucker, until he literally walked into fucking Davis's left hand, should have been up on his scorecards. He won more rounds than he lost. Yeah. Wrap your skull around that.
That's what I'm saying. That's why when people say, "Oh, how come you picked Ryan Garcia?" It's because I didn't make the wrong pick. I made the exciting pick. I said, well, with Ryan Garcia, his limited skill set, but combined with his physical prowess, I think he could pull it off. They took that away from him. He couldn't even do that. I mean, think about it. Rolly Romero was winning, or at worst was even up against Tank Davis. And now you see what Rolly Romero does with Barroso. Again, was it the layoff? Probably. Maybe that compounded itself to make the performance worse. But I don't care if you've got a 2-year layoff. You're not supposed to be struggling or downright losing against a 45-year-old man whose best win was Yeah,
no, go ahead, BD. Sorry.
Go ahead, man.
Jumping in like that. The guy was a judo. The kid when he was younger, he actually got started late in boxing, and he was just not really that good. When you mentioned Jack Marinas, that's one. He already got a gift. Tank Davis, he lost that one. Now he moved up to 40. He looked a little slower. Was getting beat every round. The one that he won, it was a questionable knockdown. I mean, he's just not that guy. He doesn't even let his hands go. He don't even got the dog, as they say. Because, like I mentioned earlier, he got that scared book look that he's not even aggressive. He's basically what I think is just like a weight bully that right now at 140 is panning out less for him than it was against the smaller guys. Because he's pretty much walking around the same weight he was at 35, but now he's facing slightly bigger dudes. And when he faced a puncher like Barroso, I'm kind of kidding with the age thing. I mean, obviously he looks like you said from the Amazon, from the jungles of Venezuela. I know that's not the Amazon, but anyways, yeah,
it is, no?
The dude can crack, man, and he came forward. He brought it, man. So respect to Barroso, but nobody cares. You know, in reality, I'm giving him his credit, but in reality, the real world over there in the United States, they don't give an F.
You can swear here, Gonzalo. You can swear, man.
Well,
yeah.
I'm
he
trying to prove that side of myself. Anyways,
listen, his whole mind, the whole psyching himself up, like you see how like he's staring at him, he's getting punched in his gloves before the fight. Any guy who has to give it that WWE, like that's not an acting. He's psyching himself out to fight the dude. And think about the importance of this. True boxers, you're never going to see them. Muhammad Ali, the fucking greats. They're over there just nice and cool, stretching their jaw because they're about to enact in their sport. To him, it's just a fight. You understand what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't even look at boxing the way a boxer looks at it. They're out there stretching, you know what I mean? He's over there mean mugging them, psyching himself up like you would see a kid about to get in a street beef. Because that's his mindset. Because he's so far out of the spectrum of a professional boxer. Because he's not. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but that's the truth.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying in that sense that, I mean, he's got a horrible style, number one. He doesn't have, I mean, think about it. If you're a young kid and you go, I want to learn how to box, you're not going to be watching Rolly Romero's fights. In fact, I doubt that Romero could even have the ability or the wherewithal to teach a kid the fundamentals. But really, I mean, look, I'm going to be honest here because I'm always honest, first of all. But the Rolly Romero, I kind of feel bad for him because he's not that bad a guy. His trainer's the guy. Like I said, when he was talking shit to Jackson Marinas' camp after the robbery, he does seem to be and then he gets into it with two broads. Now, again, knowing broads, maybe they started the whole brouhaha. I don't know. But just fucking walk away, man. It's a bunch of broads. It's probably that time of the month too or whatever. And then on top of that, it's one day before Mother's Day. You're going to start calling a bunch of women cunts and all that? I mean, I don't know. It's that guy's got to go, man. And when I say go, I don't mean it in the Italian sense that he's got to...
Classless shitbag.
Hey, BD, you know what else I noticed, Jimmy? Guys, unconsciously, after the fight, maybe that's what it is, unconsciously, Rolando Romero called out Ryan Garcia, not Tank Davis. So what does that tell you? Who's really the pay-per-view draw? Because he could have called out the guy who's been wanting a rematch more, but no. He knows he got a gift decision. He got that belt. I'll make it with Ryan Garcia because that guy is the one that actually pulled the 1-2 million or the majority of those pay-per-view buys. Because if I face him, I'm going to make more money. I'm going to get a cut of whatever that fight sells. And that's why he didn't call Tank Davis.
Gonzalo, technically, I think he did call out Tank Davis, but you are right, correct, though. He did call him out meekly. And then he said, I think Jimmy pointed out that he said, well, but the guy, if that doesn't pan out, I want Ryan Garcia. And he seemed to focus a little bit more.
Exactly. He nonchalantly. Well, I'm right back with Davis, but what we can really do is I like to fight Garcia because, like you said, Gonzalo, he knows where the money's at. He's looking to get his bread buttered because he sucks. You know what I mean? He might be fucking. Yeah, no, he might need to get a fucking note taped to his fucking jacket on the way to the store, but he's smart enough to figure out that fucking he's not in it for the long run.
Yeah, but Gonzalo keeps bringing up the good point, though, that's a shame about the information saturation world we live in now, that especially in boxing, it's, boxing fans, we got fickle minds for the most part. Well, there's one robbery and people are up in arms about it, and then they just forget about it. This one, though, I gotta tell you, I don't remember the last time I saw this much fervor,
vitriol
behind the complaint. Yeah, vitriol behind the complaining, because this one really did hit home. Like I said, the fact that Barroso was 40 years old, the fact now that Malinacci is bringing up the fact that Barroso's wife was brutally murdered, and now you got Tony Weeks essentially putting another bullet inside that poor woman's head. I mean, yeah, this is just a bad look, man. It is a bad look. And it's interesting because sometimes in life, that's what happens. There is indeed the straw that breaks the camel's back. And the feeling I'm getting from this situation is, this is it, man. This is where people are saying, fuck this, fuck the PBC. And speaking of the PBC, by the way, before we go, we still got some things to get to here on this comfy edition of the BD Boxing Podcast. Hey, by the way, can I also say something about, we were talking about humor and how sometimes you can't complain too much, you can't get too involved into it, you can't go, start getting angry and shit. One of my favorite passages from the Bible is Proverbs 17:22, which says, a joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. So I think that just goes to show you, never let your spirit dry up. They'll try to do it like an insect under a what do they call it? Like one of those, what do they call this? The focusing thing. They're, when you burn an insect,
magnifying glass.
Magnifying glass. Thank you. Yeah,
magnifying. Okay,
yeah, like an insect under a magnifying glass. They'll try to dry you up. That's what sometimes life tries to do to you. But you gotta keep a lively spirit, a joyful spirit, and you gotta laugh sometimes at the craziness that goes on in boxing. And speaking of some of the craziness that's going on in boxing, I want to get your thoughts on this. What the fuck is going on here?
Well, by boxing, they'll try to dehydrate you, BD. Kind of goes along with the passage. They'll suck you down. like King Davis did to Ryan.
Exactly. That's a good point, Gonzalo. A very good tie-in there. Speaking of a guy that might not be able to make the weight anymore either, Errol Spence had this little cryptic comment on Twitter. He said, I'm starting to feel played. Guys, what does that mean? Or what do you think it means?
Somebody said that it had something to do, well, somebody who, who could be insane, I don't know, but he was one of the first people to tweet out. He was like, he's talking about, so I guess he's involved in like some online gaming shit. I guess Spence is into that. Okay. And it had something to do with that, but who's to say? I think it also might have something to do with Heyman. Remember, because it has to be cryptic with these guys because of the NDA, the non-disclosure, because when it's nebulous like that, like Heyman could, I'm sure, reads all the Twitter or it's printed out for him. Did any of my guys say anything I can sue them for? So he sees it. Yeah, okay. I feel I'm being played. That could be anything, right? It could be the fuck game. It could be many things. But what I honestly think it is, I think that he knows. Listen, his skills are eroding as we speak. They were already eroded a little bit prior, but now he's about to fight fucking Crawford. And he's just sitting on it, doing nothing. This is not good. So I think that might have been his way of throwing a jab that he, they're not making the fight even though they told him they would.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, at this point we can only speculate. Gonzalo, what do you make of this? Is it too far-fetched to say that there's something going on here, or?
I was listening to Jimmy. That's an interesting take. Yeah, man, I believe that. I see this as like a book that I haven't read that I already know the ending, like from a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Basically, that's it.
Interesting. Very esoteric right there, Gonzalo. I mean, all I'll say is this. This saga, that Errol Spence Crawford saga, has gone on for a long time. From what I read on Twitter and talking to other boxing fans is that this actually hurt the profitability, the profit margin of the fight, in the sense that a lot of people now don't care about this fight. And I don't think they'd be willing, like every day that passes and this fight doesn't get made, it just dilutes the product even more. It degrades the quality because look, Crawford's going to be nearing 36. I think he's going to be 36 this year. I think. Or I think it's Spence. I forget. Spence, the rumor is that he's not taking care of himself. that much. So you start wondering, one or the other. One guy's getting older, much older, and the other guy is not taking care of himself. So are you really that interested in seeing this fight, especially when we've got Haney Lomachenko coming up? We've got Inoue versus Fulton. We've got, to a certain extent, Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez coming up. And that's an interesting fight because of the fact that Josh Taylor seems to be disintegrating at 140 pounds. So the fight's getting a little bit closer now in terms of competitiveness, at least the way the boxing fans see it. So we've got all these great fights coming up, 2 of them free, by the way. Would people really be excited to have to pay for these 2 guys, especially when they've indicated that they don't really care about the boxing fans? So, yeah, I was just trying to get your thoughts on this one, fellas. What does that mean?
Go Gonzalo.
No, I was gonna mention it's kind of like it's already past what it could have done. Like if it would have been, if the fight would have already taken place, yeah, maybe a lot of people would have tuned in to watch it. But now that has come and gone, you're gonna find it hard for people to get excited for the fight happening in the future as it could have happened maybe a couple years ago. It's come and gone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it's already past its due date, without a doubt. You know what I mean? Every month that goes by now, every year, it's going to sell less. That thing doesn't come close to 1 million, not even close. I don't think. But yeah, it's gotten so ridiculous now. Spence, he's going to be from the time really from his accident. He had Danny Garcia, who's just terrible at 147, and then Ugas, who hurt him multiple times, who doesn't even hit that hard. And if you ask whose style needs to fight more often, it would be Spence's, because Crawford is a more naturally gifted athlete. He's got faster hands, more accurate puncher, and stays in fighting shape all along. He spars all the time. He's always down the gym. You always said Dave was talking about it. Like, I guess Crawford's not a big drinker or doesn't drink at all. So, whereas Spence, he's Dubai, baby. I mean, come on. Fucking dude's that drunk.
Yeah, that whole Dubai thing was disturbing, to say the least, because he didn't sound drunk. He sounded like he was on ketamine or something, or that one drug that just puts you out completely. He shows up drunk at fights too, and he's got a big burly guy following him around. I hope that's his bodyguard. I hope it's not some big gay guy that's just following him, seeing that he's drunk and saying, hey, maybe I can get this guy drunk in my bed tonight or something. I don't know, because he was getting really close to Earl Spence. He was grabbing him from behind the waist, from behind and shit. It looked disturbing. So this fight, yeah, man, listen, would I still pay for it? Like I said at the beginning of the show, I am a boxing junkie, so I probably would. I'm complaining about it now, but then come fight week, I'd probably find a way to get myself hyped up for it. And I somehow I think that maybe the panelists share my view, right, guys? Even though we're complaining about it,
yeah, I'd buy it. Of course I would, because I've been waiting for a long time for Crawford to knock his dick in the dirt. And I like Spence probably better as a person outside the ring, his personality. You know, I kind of like that he's just a chill dude. I like that he's into animals and stuff. I could see that I would probably get along better with him. Not that it matters, but as a fighter, I think that Crawford has it all over him. All over him. And I've been from day one. I've never, faulted from that. I've never thought that Spence was all that. I just think he's big. He's strong. He peaked, I think, with Brooke, and he's been put on a shelf ever since. And if you're not fighting, you know what I mean, inequality of guys, but Crawford's not getting any younger. The longer this waits, it only benefits Spence too. But then again, if he's drinking and getting that sloshed, remember, he showed up to a fight drunk after he was court ordered not to drink.
Oh, jeez, Luis, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
So,
I think it was...
I actually think that Crawford's in better shape, BDA. Errol Spence, we can't forget that car accident probably took something out of him. I think he's ready to break.
Whoa.
I was talking to you about some other fighter, his style, but this guy, look, he's been through it. Like, he's been through the ringer, man. I think he's getting ready to break. And having to cut down weight every time you're trying to squeeze down to 147, that takes something out of you too. It puts your body through some sort of shock.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a big guy, so I think Errol Spence is more well taken care of.
Yeah,
even though he's
that's a
36.
given. That's the way it looks like, Gonzalo. That's the way it looks like. And earlier I was trying to ask Steve Kim about, would you be willing to, now that we had that shit show last night with the PBC, to try to convince people, hey, listen, now let's get together. Fuck the PBC, all these PBC fanboys. Now do you understand that they're bad for boxing? That if you want to improve boxing, he said, you don't really want to associate with those people. I was sort of thinking the same thing now with the Spence fans, because during that whole Crawford Spence saga, there was a lot of vitriol between, a lot of strife between the Spence fans and the Crawford fans, to the point where no matter what happened, neither guy was going to concede a point, right? Now, it's pretty clear right now that Spence's side, and that was thanks to Jimmy, too, for clarifying that throughout that whole saga, that it's really on the Spence side. They're the ones to blame for not getting the fight made. But you're never going to hear certain people on Twitter say that, because they were way too invested in going back and forth and that ego. And that's the problem. That's what I'm trying. If there's a message that I'm trying to get across here today is that fucking ego. It's people attaching themselves to a boxing promotion or a certain fighter, and since they're going back and forth with somebody else, they refuse to concede once they're wrong. I'm not here. Listen, rarely will you ever hear us here when we do get a pick right go at the people that got it wrong. I remember when Fury beat the shit out of Wilder, and Buccio and Stu called a round to a T, 7-round stoppage. And I said, you know what? We got to be humble about it, because, we called it, blah, blah. And then Stu said, I don't got to be humble. These motherfuckers wouldn't be humble if it'd been the other way around. I said, you know what? That's a good point. But I'm still going to stick to my guns here and say, look, it's not about whether you were right or wrong. It's about saying, look, are you a boxing fan? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. You got to go along with the program and say, fuck the PBC. Excuse me. That's what I wanted to get across.
I don't have to be humble.
Is that recognized? Recognize. I can barely hear you, man.
Yeah, I can barely hear you, Recognize.
Oh, damn. Sorry, maybe there's something wrong with my mic. I'll be back.
Yeah, that bodega Wi-Fi is worse than the McDonald's Wi-Fi that we're using here. Hey, but by the way, because we're almost done here, but...
those guys, look at those people who don't want to admit it, or it comes down to this. You catch them. All you want to catch them, go, okay, all right, well, who's the A-side, though? Oh, they love that. Who do you think?
Right,
fucking Spence is the A-side. Always been the A-side. Oh, you mean, so it's conducive upon him to make the fight happen, then? Oh, well... Yeah, exactly. If you're the A-side, you're the one with all the belts. You're the A-side. You make the fight. It's up to you to make the fight, dick. You know what I mean? So they got nothing to say. That's usually when they'll block you or just just bringing about ad hominem attacks, but they're not going to have actually fucking address the fact that it's been every chance. Listen, when you're not fighting the mandatories, okay, these are fights that means that you're picking from, you're choosing from. So at every turn, the A-side, knowing that everybody in the industry was screaming, Crawford, fight Crawford. You show up to his fights after you said you're not gonna. He wins. You bolt from the place like you beat a bar tab. Crawford goes to your fight when you fought Garcia, asked to go in the ring for face-to-face. Your people told him no. Okay? So you keep on just adding up all these fucking little things. And it comes out to one thing. At every opportunity you had a chance to make the Crawford fight, you, Spence, chose to fight somebody different. Period.
I mean, hey, is there any other way of looking at it? And you know what, Jimmy? It's... I wouldn't. How would I describe it here? It's people take things too personally, or too personal. That's the other thing. It's just boxing, man. And like I said from that Bible quote, are you really going to get all riled up over a sport? You got to be able to concede at some point, okay, I was wrong. But the problem is that too many people out there love to kick a guy when they're down. It's like, you were wrong. I'm thinking in a whole new way right now. I'm thinking, look, if we want this sport to get better, if it even has a modicum of a chance to get better, it's people got to group together and stop this whole tribalism. But unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to work out, man. By the way, before we do go, I wanted to recognize, are you there? How's your audio sounding now?
How do I sound?
Very
Yo,
low, man.
recognize.
Yeah, you sound. I'm gonna boost your volume, and guys on the panel, you're gonna have to boost his individually, because it's not gonna change for you. But yeah, go ahead, recognize.
Turn on my volume. Come on, Guido.
Yeah, that's
Turn on my volume.
Yeah, you sound like you're far away from the phone or something.
Shit.
Yeah.
I think I might have done. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. A little bit better. A little bit. A little bit.
Okay, this is what I'll say. This is how pathetic boxing is. You got guys in their mid-30s that are in the same weight class as each other, and they're both undefeated in multiple weight classes. Same promotion. That's all I got to say about that.
Does that say it all? I think some people
that says it all. Guys in their mid-30s? Dude, that's how can who's okay? They both retire undefeated. Who is the best? Who is better? They never fought.
Exactly.
It's a good point.
Listen, I got a little bit of OCD. I hate when there's no resolution. When things aren't tied up in a pretty little bow, I start going nuts. And let me tell you, I don't have a helmet on like Rolly Romero. I don't have that privilege. So it's going to get nasty here if we don't see that fight happen. May I also
I
say...
can see that happening? I can see that happening too, BDA, but probably not as bad. If Haney beats Lomachenko, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to drag it out. I don't know if they'll drag it out until these guys are in their 30s, but they'll drag it out as long as they can. Shakur and Haney and maybe even Tank to be undefeated into their 30s. And they're all claiming to be pound for pound the best. And the simple question is, why are you all undefeated and you're all the same size?
Excellent point. Yeah, no, listen, Devin Haney's father, Bill Haney, the notorious Bill Haney, already said, if that Shakur Stevenson fight happens, it's going to happen at 147. It's like, what the fuck? You're not even done with Lomachenko. You're already talking about 147. What's going on here? But by the way, listen, I wanted to bring something up here before we go. If you understand Spanish, check out Un Round Más. That's the Eric Morales Barrera podcast. They recently interviewed the one and only Rafael Marquez, which is Juan Manuel Marquez's brother. Very interesting because this guy had fallen off the scene after his retirement in, I want to say 2012 or 2011. I think the Juanma Lopez fight was, no, he fought a couple of more times afterwards, I think. Anyway, this guy, Rafael Marquez at one point was considered better than Juan Manuel Marquez. That was when Juan Manuel wasn't getting the big opportunities. And it's a very interesting podcast. I would suggest you catch it. If you're going to catch Steve Kim's podcast as well, it's returning, Steve Kim and Mario Lopez, the 3 knockdown rule. I would suggest you also check this out if you get the time, because they're both fantastic podcasts. And Rafael Marquez really does give you an inside look at, in-depth look at some of his fights. Gonzalo, what did you think of that interview? Because it's interesting, because people forget about Rafa now. They all talk about Juan Manuel Marquez. Well, what did you think about that episode?
It was a really good episode, and they had a lot of camaraderie since they're both from Mexico City, and they were like telling some stories from back in the day from the scene over there in Mexico City. And it was interesting that the uppercut that Rafael Marquez is like in the it comes from the family line. The uppercut, that was a boxer too. Juan Manuel Marquez, Rafael Marquez uppercut was taught in the family. One of the best uppercuts in the game. Then I went and watched Juan Manuel Marquez versus some Indonesian cat. Man, these dudes fucking hit you with that, whether it's a lead or a trail one.
Yeah, because they used to throw that long uppercut. It was that was their standard combination. I think Juan Manuel Marquez said it in one of those ESPN Spanish shows. He said he was showing how he throws his combos, and he goes, most people throw 1-2 left hook, but why not the uppercut? He said, because they don't expect it. It's you're throwing the straight shot and you're making them close the guard, and then you throw an uppercut in between, and it's a long uppercut. It's not even Marquez. Barrera didn't seem to understand the concept of throwing a long uppercut from long distance, and he knew that's what the way he said it was. Your brother had a great uppercut. Why? Because fucking Juan Manuel Marquez hurt him with a left hook, or I think it was a right hook. He hurt him with a combo. I think it was in the 7th round. And I know for a fact there was an uppercut there. And I don't know if you remember, Gonzalo, or you guys as well, but Rafael Marquez knocked out a guy named Ruiz, I think. It was on a Eric Morales undercard. He knocked him out with a beautiful uppercut, a single punch, and just dropped the guy, iced him with an uppercut. I'm thinking, goddamn, fucking Rafael Marquez is one of the biggest punchers at 118. Right up there with Inoue. That's how hard the guy hit. Maybe he wouldn't beat Inoue, but he was pretty good, man. I would give him a chance.
Yeah, I have to appreciate Marco Antonio Barrera's like how humble he is sometimes. I've been noticing that when he really like plays down his skills because he wants to learn like what other people got to say too, but he's pretty like modest. Yeah, but it's true. Rafael Marquez, good fighter.
You know
Great
what? I was
fighter.
actually
He's in the Hall of Fame now.
He should be. I mean, fuck. I mean, he beat Mabuse twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made it on
Vasquez.
PD. He got inducted.
I think he did, yeah. Let me check. Mother's Day, what the fuck? Yeah, and you know what, Gonzalo, while I Googled that to see if he is indeed in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, I got the sense that Barrera got along better with Rafael Marquez than he would have with Juan Manuel, because I think there was still a little bit of a bitter taste there, the way the first fight ended. I mean, the only fight, because there were some scorecards were too wide. And I think Barrera and Juan Manuel, they don't get along all that well. Did you get that sense, or have you gotten that sense as well?
A little bit, yeah. Same thing could be said about Morales and Barrera, but now they're co-hosts and supposedly they're buddies, but who knows? But with them, you know, they say that the people from the capital of Mexico could be like a little abrasive. Like, at least that's what other Mexicans from different states say. And you know, like Juan Manuel Marquez, the comments he's made about Canelo, he's kind of like, yeah, he's just one of those guys that might rub some people the wrong way. I know he's candid, or is that what you say? Like honest, direct. Mm-hmm. He'll tell you how it is. But I don't know, man. Maybe his the way he says things, like, don't bode well with like a lot of people.
Hey, by the way, Tony Yayo Tony Yayo.
That's Juan Manuel.
Yeah. Tony Yayo in the chat says the family line, El Gordo. I bet it was the Diaz brothers. he's fucking calling the Scarface movie. Yeah, we'll get them back in spades. Yeah. Is that what you're gonna do? But real quick,
Rafael Marquez seems more personable. BDA. He seems more personable. He
does.
They both got character. They both got characters of like good people, great champions. But his demeanor is more like relatable.
Well, Juan Manuel hates Canelo with a passion. He's never given him, as far as I know, he's never given him a modicum of credit. Even Nacho at some point started giving Canelo credit because he was shitting on Canelo all the time at some point. But Juan Manuel, he really hates Canelo. And then I remember for a while, he kept going on after Pacquiao. You know, at one time he showed up to a press conference with a shirt that said, Marquez beat Pacquiao twice. And I go, come on, man. At that point, both those fights had been close. The third one, okay, if you want to say he got robbed in the third one, okay, but the first two were extremely close. So I've always gotten the sense, hey, even Rafael said in the interview there with Barrera, he said, Juan Manuel loathes losing. He's one of those guys, whether he's playing chess or whether he's playing basketball or whatever, he never wants to lose. Juan Manuel Marquez said it himself. He says, my face turns evil when I'm competing with somebody over anything. So he's got that competitive spirit. It's good when you're a pro, but if it never goes away after retirement, or it could be trouble. That's all I'll say. Well,
yeah, it's a crazy world out there. It's like a big city and people are jacking your shoes, holding you up, even when you're a little kid. So you grow up like in the doggy dog world. And that's just kind of like ingrained already in the way they are.
But now, that's the other thing, though. They really made a big deal out of this during the Morales-Barrera rivalry, that it was because it was Barrera from the Distrito Federal, the capital, versus Tijuana, and that the North and the capital, they never get along. Now, you're from Tijuana. Is that true, or how true is that? Like, how big is the rivalry?
I think it's true because when I mentioned that most people don't get along with, because they call them chilangos. Mm-hmm. That's from my side over there, like what I always heard throughout my whole life. like, yeah, especially because it's a border town. People go there a lot of times when they're trying to make it to the United States. But like now in TJ, a lot of people are coming from Sinaloa, and same thing could be said about the people from Sinaloa. They're coming over to my town, trying to take over. They walk around with 3 cell phones, thinking the way they dress, thinking they're all bad. Yeah, we kind of don't like them now over there. But with Chilangos, it's kind of the same thing. And you know how they talk, man. It's like the smaller fighter that's what they Reynoso now, Rey Martinez.
Uh-huh.
They're a little braggadocious, like, you know, they got the chip on the shoulder. I think Juan Manuel, Marco Antonio Barrera was like that when he was younger. I know as we age, we change a little bit, the personality. Like for me, you know, they made the movie about it, but Juan Manuel Marquez, correction. Yeah, see, I'm confusing them because they're both in the capital of Mexico. Marco Antonio Barrera was kind of the same way. He was like a tough guy when he was younger, but now, like in a podcast, he seems calmer, more relaxed, more humble.
I think it's because they got out of their systems. Now they're retired. They don't have that edge anymore. Especially when they're competing against each other. I mean, it was for a while there was Barrera and Morales, who's the best, and they were trying to one up each other. You know, Barrera would beat Morales, then Morales would have to try to go beat Poli Ayala. Then Barrera would beat Morales, and Morales would try to beat Pacquiao, you know, who's the guy who beat Barrera. So yeah, they were always trying to one up each other. And now that they're done with it, I think that's why they can move past it.
And also, PDA, in the boxing sense, yeah, Mexico City, they've always produced like great world champions. I mean, it was like a hotbed, or what do you call it? One of the cradles of boxing over there.
Uh-huh.
And Tijuana is one of those. It's been one of those. Like your little old fucking rinky dinky hole in the wall gym. You just go in there and you'll see like a world champion skipping rope. And like, damn, dude, like they produce a lot of world champions too. Just like in the United States, Texas, now Los Angeles, there's a rivalry there too. I think Guadalajara is like really popular now. There's like a lot of world champions. Whether there'll be a fighter like Canelo that comes out of there within the next 10 years, who knows? But those are the places.
Yeah, Los Mochis too, like where Montiel was from.
Los Mochis as well.
Yeah, man. It's interesting that Barrera sucker punched Morales in the build-up to the second fight. They were able to get past that, whereas Ali and Frazier never got past the fact that Ali betrayed him and called him a gorilla and all that. So it's interesting how sometimes words are actually more difficult. Like a fist fight, you can move past it, you know, especially if both guys are drunk or whatever. But what Ali said to Frazier, yeah, Frazier never let him forget it.
God bless Frazier, but is another one, dude. He wasn't a very bright dude. I mean, in fact, back in the day before their first fight, and my family was Frazier fans. Everybody was going for Frazier. That's a whole nother story. But he kept calling him an Uncle Tom, right? And really upset Frazier. And he went to George Foreman and he asked him. George was talking to him because George just won the gold, and then everybody was fucking afraid of George up at that point. But he said, "Man, I'm just like." George was like, calm down. He's like, no, you don't understand, man. Keep calling me, you know, Uncle Tom and shit. And I'm married, man. I don't want my wife thinking I'm peeking through windows. And George Foreman had to tell him, no, dude, that's not what it means. That's a true story. That's a true hand of God story. George Foreman has told it.
Jeez, he thought he was
peeping Tom.
I remember that. Did they use that term in Dirty Harry? When Clint Eastwood was looking for the serial killer, he's peeking through a window, and then the neighborhood people, they think he's a peeping Tom. Remember that part in that movie?
Oh yeah. But yeah, no, that's a true ass story, man. George Foreman told that story many times.
He was confusing Uncle Tom with peeping Tom. I can see that.
Tom.
I can see that.
I'm married, dude. I want my wife thinking I'm looking into windows. Oh no.
All right. Well,
listen, but I'll tell you though, when Ali was down and out, he doesn't. You know, they don't talk about that because he was financially down and out because he chose, you know, not to go to the war and he made everything political. It was Frazier who fucking helped him out financially, so he felt double betrayed when he was talked to because just that wasn't Frazier's game. He just wasn't a dude. You know what I mean? To talk fast. It wasn't like Ali would just riddle you. quick on his feet, quick on his mouth. And he went. He spared no. Never varnished his tongue when it came to Frazier. Frazier to play that game and made him pay for it in that first fight.
Oh, he did, man. I mean, he dropped him on his ass.
Beat the shit out of him.
He really did, man. And the third one probably would have won had Eddie Futch not pulled the plug on it, unaware that Ali was ready to quit as well. So, yeah, man. I mean, Joe Frazier. By the way, that's the other thing, though. Joe Frazier, he wasn't originally from Philly, right? He wasn't born and bred in Philly.
No, he was a Southern boy. Yep.
But he's considered a Philly fighter. That's interesting. Probably because he spent more time there. I don't know. Never really got the full scoop on that one. But listen, fellas.
Everybody who ever met him said he's a class act and great guy. So, I'm gonna.
BDA. I'm gonna.
Yes, Gonzalo.
Sorry if I'm not. I don't intend to switch topics or anything. I just wanted to throw something out there that I noticed really, really quick. You don't even have to talk about it. I mean, we can do it some other time if it's even a thing. If it's even a thing. The ESPN card. You know how Timothy Bradley and Andre Ward are always playing up the fighters that they like.
Yes.
Oh, they got skills. Oh, he's getting ready to look what he's gonna do now. Pay attention, guys. When when Janibek Alimkaluli stopped Butler within 2 rounds, there was like a silence, like a cat got their tongue. They couldn't say nothing. And you know how that goes with those guys. When it's an Eastern European or a guy from Russia or Kazakhstan, they're fucking kind of hating, dude. And I just noticed that. But I say this to say that. It tells the type of bias that they got. And that's all.
But hold on. Because somebody said that on the Discord, but I was watching it with the sound off. Did anyone catch that, what Gonzalo's saying?
Oh, yeah, there's just not, the love isn't there that it is with, no, not at all. Especially with Bradley, much more than it is with Ward. But yeah, no, it's obvious.
Huh.
It's been that way for a long time with Bradley. And I like Bradley. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, no, it is what it is, you know?
Same thing with Ward, Jimmy, because he's got a little fixated on the fact that he retired and those guys, Biev came up and the stoppage against Kovalev in the first fight, actually, when he got awarded the decision, that was a robbery too. So he's always had in the dirty boxing, always trying to justify, you just gotta be you gotta have that dog and that counts a lot too. But when one guy with actual punching power, one thing that he probably kind of lacked, I know he had surgery and everything, gets the stoppage within 2 rounds. Oh man, he has nothing to commentate about that. It's dude, you're pretty articulate.
That's true.
I like the way you commentate.
You're right, though. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch that one, Gonzalo. It's true. I'm gonna just to see how they react. Do you think maybe Prodovnikov turned Bradley racist? Because he almost knocked his ass out. Maybe that was an inferno of a fight. Maybe is it possible that turned him racist against white people?
He hit him so hard he made him racist.
It's weird too because he's married to a white woman, so you would think, but well, who knows if that doesn't, I don't know.
I think he's married to a Mexican.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So probably hates whitey.
Okay, come on. All right. Well, listen, fellas, it's getting late here. I really do have to go, but shout out to you, fella. Recognize. We'll talk later, man. You jumped in a little bit too late here, but
sorry about that, guys.
No, don't worry. Don't apologize. We know you're busy, man. We know you're a busy guy making that cheddar, as they say in the streets. I don't know what they say in New York. What do they say in New York now? That butter or?
You're making them stacks. You're making them stacks.
Making them stacks. All right, man. Well, listen.
I thought he was going to say moolah, but moolah is kind of like...
You making that moolah? You making that moolita?
I say moolah. I say moolah all the time. Well, listen, recognize. Shout out to you, man. Thank you for dropping by. We also had Gonzalo here, Jimmy, the Jimarino, and the Guns. Bucho was here earlier as well. Shout out to Bucho. And everybody that called in, everybody that donated the super chat, shout out to you fellas. Thank you for joining us and thank you for contributing to the show. Everybody that called in on this comfy edition of the BD Boxing Podcast. And shout out to everybody in the chat right now. I'm talking about Fluffy Toasters 89, Bray, who asked, when is the film analysis episode for Haney versus Loma? Probably Tuesday or Wednesday. Bray. We'll let you guys know. We're probably going to do multiple episodes. We do have to do the official prediction episode, even though Butcher already partially did one last Friday, I think, or Thursday. So we're going to get to that. So shout out to him. Shout out to Fluffy Toasters. Shout out to Straight G Turo, Zachariah Shaw, Hawker Mustang, Raphael 32, still watching boxing for the moment. TFM, Epatokua, Norman Louis, Gerald Draymond, Skull Kid, El Pachuco. I think Jarvis, Javis, I think he's in there as well. Shout out to Javis. Can't really read his name here. Vince Vegas, Tony Yayo, Rush with the Yayo, Vernon. That's not the real Vernon, by the way. Shout out to King KO. And if I forgot anybody else, because we got to go. But fellas, thank you so much for joining us. Catch you next one, fellas. Take it easy. Thanks for watching.
I'm disappointed in every
Have a good night.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you. I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm gonna kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. Just